think I'll just shut up all night. Really, I was thinking that too.
Hello, and welcome to the May 1st meeting of the Historic District Commission in Portsmouth. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to introduce our commission. To the far right is our alternate, Larry Booz.
Good evening, how are you?
We've got Dan Brown,
Good evening.
Martin Ryan,
Good evening.
Vice Chair Margot Doring.
Hello.
I'm Chair Reagan Rudig. This is Isaac Gilbo from the Planning Department.
Good evening.
John Wyckoff.
Hello.
Rich Blaylock, our City Council representative, will hopefully come later after his Little League game is done, and David Adams.
Good evening.
So we'll start off the meeting. I have to say that the board's action in these matters has been deemed to be quasi-judicial in nature. If any person believes any member of the board has a conflict of interest, that issue should be raised at this point or it will be deemed waived. All right, so we'll move ahead. The first item on the agenda is our approval of minutes. I don't know if anybody has any comments or edits to the minutes as they read through.
Move approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right. We have a whole list of administrative approvals, and I will let Isaac lead us through all of those. Actually, before we start, as you're pulling this up, do we have any? Oh, I was going to say we can talk about any postponements. We don't have any, so we're good to go.
All right, I do just one other question. Does anybody need to recuse themselves from any administrative approval item, or is there any item that anyone feels that they would like to pull out for a further discussion other than just going through our list? Okay, great. We'll start with administrative approval, item number 1, which is 39 Dearborn Street. This project has been before the commission for public hearing for a fairly extensive renovation and addition project. Additionally, there are some field changes that have come up since construction has started on that project. And it looks like we have Amy here. If you just want to maybe quickly run through those few changes, and hopefully we'll get right through it.
My name is Amy Dutton. I'm representing my clients, the Bardongs at 39 Dearborn Street. I put the consensus on the page 1.
Recording in progress.
Good. So there's 9 points that are either changing or we are asking for approval for. The first, I'll just run through them and then we can go back and ask questions if that's okay. The bulkhead access, that is going to be a deck door instead of a window access. The basement hopper windows will therefore need to move over to the connector. Thank you. And the retaining wall and fence on the front property line has not been in front of you. So I just want to review what that will look like. The removal of the front gable end, there's a window that was in the middle that we just took out due to interior exercise there. The transom window over the mudroom entry door was removed. The roof extent over that mudroom, I think Martin had a point about this, that we did extend that 12 inches. Instead, I think we were at 6. The removal of the lights fixtures next to that mudroom entry door and replaced with recessed lighting in that roof overhang. And then I just wanted to confirm that we will be putting in the back windows. We did get the easement from the neighbor, so that will be happening. And then I wanted to just verify the siding. It did change. It's changed so many times that I just wanted to run it by this board one more time to make sure that we were good. So I don't know if you want to do questions or me to take it one point at a time.
I think just a quick summary as we go through. We don't have to go.
Okay.
Get too detailed.
The entry to the basement, the client, what they're wanting is the proposed is a deck that would go across the front of the addition, that you would walk up, obviously, to get in the doors. To the right of the doors will be, it's a system that you're seeing in the photo where basically the deck lifts up, and then there will be a bulkhead staircase down. And then, just to not make it look odd, we continued it all the way across the front of the house. And then the hopper windows moved to, they're circled in red, the connector piece just centered underneath that connector. That's the only real light in the basement. The retaining wall and fence, I think that is probably easiest seen in perspective on the first sheet. However, very, very hard to show this. So the neighbors are about 4 feet higher than we have the grade at the addition. So what we're proposing is to actually raise the grade at the back and at the side so that we don't have water just pooling basically into that basement. And then building a short stone wall and then a fence on top of that. So we would just be replacing, there is already fences that are on the back side, and we'll just match the fences so that they work from the existing. No, I think that we talked about it even in the very first one, that change of grade is pretty extreme. So that's our approach, and that's what the foundation, as we've gotten into the construction, the foundation company really believes that we need to bring that up. So it's been a little bit of a challenge. On the side, also in that perspective, just to the left, you can see that we took there was a window in the center, and we took that out. Sorry, Isaac, yep, in that perspective there. There was a window in the center, so there were 3, and it just didn't leave enough wall space from the interior perspective.
Amy, underneath that, where it says remove the window, it says TBD on site. It seems to be pointing to the foundation.
The height of that.
The height.
The height of that needs to be determined on site, yes.
Thank you.
And yeah, where the window is circled is where we removed that window, that proposed window. Last month, we graciously approved the dormer that is also circled, so that's underway. And that is centered now underneath the 2 dining room windows, so you can see that we don't see this perspective anyway. So on the mudroom, we did have a transom window over those French doors, and it was just so crowded. It's a very small wall, very, very crowded. We're just trying to simplify things. Same with lights, like there's so much wood in there, to try to get lights is really hard. So that's why we extended that roof overhang and got a light in. Plus, not damage to the door, and maybe you won't get socked on rain. Maybe. And I think that, and then, as I mentioned, the back windows, the siding, so we are looking at hardy plank siding, and in that lighter color on the cape. And then on anything that's not the original cape, it would be the Maybach wood shingles. So, any questions?
The only request I have with regard to the hardy plank, I've seen sometimes it's installed and the seams are all lining up.
Oh,
we
yeah.
could be sure that it be installed more like it's a clapboard and randomized.
Yep,
Thank you.
sure. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
All right, our next administrative approval item is at 179 Pleasant Street. Again, this project has been before the commission for a public hearing for an extensive renovation, and they are now back with a few administrative approval items. So we have four essential items here. So they are hoping to propose exterior lighting for the project, to go over the brick chimney cap selections, and then there were some canopy brackets that have been chosen, and some pergola details that have changed slightly. And so here we can see the light choice, and they have outlined the areas 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D kind of photo here to illuminate where that would be. Here are the chimney caps that they're proposing, brick chimney caps. Here would be the canopy bracket style that they're proposing. And lastly, the pergola details. And does anybody have any further questions on these changes?
It seems that they're also going to trim the arch windows with the stone arches around them rather than wood. Just thought that should be in the public record.
Yes, thank you, John.
Looks great.
Anybody? Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So that will bring us to administrative approval item number 3, which is 3 Pleasant Street. This is a very minor change to an administrative approval that was before us just a couple of months ago. Essentially, there's been a slight change in the original canopy design. The roof was extended a little further out, and there's been a steel column for bracing in the rear. It was just noted in the inspection process, and just wanted to make sure that it was fully approved by the commission. Any questions on that? Okay. So similarly with 30 Penn Hollow Street, this was a similar story. It was a overhang system that was approved, just had a couple of slight variations in design. Nothing too major. Again, it was just noted through the inspection process, and just here to get that on record. Any further questions on that? Okay. That will bring us to item number.
Are there,
oh,
I'm sorry. Are there, no, this, okay, previous approved, I got you.
Yes.
Carry on.
Item number 5 is 218 State Street, and the applicant here, this is again a very smaller scope request. They are hoping to remove, it's hard to see, these 2 non-functioning lights that are kind of attached just up here over their entrance. They're non-working at the moment, and they don't wish to replace them with anything. They just wish to simply remove those.
Do we know, is that connected to the conduit there that's stuck on the outside, or are they going to remove that too?
I believe it is, as it's coming right out of the wall there, and those are the only things there. I can confirm that the conduit line will be removed with the lights, and that any holes from screws just be filled as needed.
Stipulation. That's a good stipulation.
Thank you.
Could put a blank cover over it and paint it brick colored.
Yeah, I mean, they have to cover up the hole somehow.
Yeah.
Either one, I would think.
Okay.
Probably
and-
want to leave the box on the face of the building just for practical reasons, but there's no reason that it can't be capped off neatly, and I think Mr. Wyckoff is correct about splashing a bit of brick color on it.
Okay.
electrical box on
Yeah,
it.
then they'll be, otherwise they'd be back to us to put another light in a couple of years from now.
More holes.
More holes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for 218 State Street? Okay. That will bring us to item number 6, 53 Green Street. So again, this is a project that has been before the commission for public hearing, and we are now coming back for a few changes from the previously approved design. So there are a few door and window location changes that are being proposed, associated trim panels and decorative grills that are also being proposed. Let me, a little larger.
It's a little confusing, the changes.
Do we have anyone that might be able to just speak quickly to the exact changes that we're seeing here?
We do.
Some big, some little, shift here, shift there.
Hi, Carla. Good evening.
Good evening, Carla Goodnight from CJ Architects, representing Cathartis and Embark. And basically, I think the summary, it will help. We are not really changing any of the approved materials. And basically, the changes that are proposed are the result of modifications to door and window locations and moving trim panels around and so forth, just as the design was developed and the units were laid out and the garage floors were put in and things like that. So there are a lot of sides, granted, a lot of sides and a lot of windows and doors, but we did the above and below renderings to sort of depict that the overall theme hasn't really changed. I think if you look, just as an example, right at the top, which one are you on? Are you on 1.0? Can you?
1.1.
Okay, yep.
Here, I'll go back to 1.0.
So if you look at the top, you can see right up here on the top floor, the window pattern has kind of a 3-2-3-2-3 pattern, and then down here it has a 3 single 3 pattern. And there's a lot of that going on, just where things have moved back and forth and rhythms have changed to accommodate the actual layouts of all the floor plans. And as you go on to page 1.1, similarly, again, you can see just, I would say the primary changes are just kind of window patterns. These window patterns used to be 1-2-2-1-2-2, and now they're, this, a little bit different. 1 or 2, single 2, single 2. So there's just a little bit of rhythm change that accommodates the floor plan layouts. 1.2 has relatively few changes, but they're sort of seen, this was one of our original renderings, and a lot of the changes are really more in the distance here on these, and these are basically identical in the front. And then 1.3, again, some more window rhythm changes. You can see it here, looking at this one, where now it's more sort of, sort of a simple mill type of layout here. And then this window pattern has also changed, like in this area. And one more, the decorative panels have also been added. There are no decorative panels here, but, part of the ventilation required some decorative panels be added down here. So, kind of in the lower half of that recess. And 1.4, you can see that here the panels are all the way top to bottom, and here an interim structural piece has been added to the panel setup. But, and the windows have changed 2-2-1-2-2 from what it was before. So, and there are a few other little window pattern movements that have changed. And then when you go to the next sheet for, for record, these items have been put in as before and after. So that's sheet 201, but it looks like I'm just looking at the top half of it. Kind of zoomed out, because these are the full size, the 24 by 36 size. So there we go. So every elevation that was submitted before captures each and every nuance of change to these window patterns. So that's what was approved with a single window down the center, and this ended up being the 3 doubles here. So there's a lot of that back and forth.
Carla, may I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
On this particular view. So the window patterns in between the two buildings, those have been completely removed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And on
those
the-
are gone.
And is it just a perspective thing on the upper rendering, there are decks that we can see and not on the lower one? Is that because they're further back on the building?
Which sheet are we?
I'm on 201,
Oh, 201.
201. I think it's this one.
Hmm.
What, these
The
things?
decks are
Those-
gone.
those things? Yeah, on the side, on the left side. In the upper rendering, there are little
Oh,
decks.
you mean, are they
Yes,
projecting?
those, yeah.
I
Error,
don't believe they're
perspective.
projecting that much. Yes, they are. They are projecting. It's the perspective.
So they're just missing.
I'm trying to figure out where we are. I see where we are, yes. Yep. There is a projection.
Okay, so they were not removed?
No.
It just appears
No,
that way?
they're still on the rendering.
Okay. Thank you.
Right? Is that,
That side, yes. I think if you look at, well, that's fine. There's
It could have been a major mistake.
No, it's a lot to fit on 24 by 36 to fit all the sections
On that.
on. So,
okay, any other questions for Carla? Any thoughts? All right,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
thank you. That will bring us to administrative approval item number 7, which is 46 Maplewood Avenue. And the applicants here are seeking to relocate the roof-mounted HVAC equipment. So we have the previously approved plan on the left-hand side, and they have relocated a few units or added a few units as indicated on the right-hand side. These are also seen in this lower elevation on the right-hand side as well, so they will be above the roof line as indicated here.
I have a
That-
quick
They're
question.
set back pretty far.
They are set back very far. You're right, Reagan. So they are set back about 22 or 23 feet from the side.
Given our recent discussions and looking at ordinances, wouldn't this have been covered as well? That this wouldn't have to come before us?
It was a change to the previously approved design. It very well could have been an exemption. It wasn't stated clearly in the application if it would be completely non-visible from the setback.
Just curious.
But just to be on the safe side, just wanted to make sure it was on record.
Sounds good.
Assuming there are no more questions for that, we can move on to administrative approval item number 8. That is 245 Marcy Street. And the applicant here is seeking approval to install gas venting into existing fireplaces and to rebuild one of the existing chimneys, to install gas venting in the existing chimneys, not fireplaces. To rebuild one of the existing chimneys on the home, and then also to repoint one of the existing chimneys.
This is not making a faux chimney, it's rebuilding the original.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So they would like to use the Morin Restoration brick for the rebuilt chimney. Of course, if they can save any of the original brick, we can stipulate that that be used if possible. And they are also, and these are the vents that will be used for the gas venting.
As far as the stipulation goes, I mean, that looks like it's stainless steel to me, which means it's very loud up there. So I think in the past, we've asked for it to be painted, either brick color or flat black or something, because
Sure.
you know what I'm talking about,
Yep.
yeah.
And I would just caution against actually reusing any of the old brick because it looks like their mortar mix is calculated for the new brick,
Okay.
which is harder than the historic brick, so, yeah, just.
Okay, we'll go with that then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any further questions for 245 Marcy? Okay.
Moving on.
So that will bring us to administrative approval item number 9. This is 49 Pleasant Street. The applicant here is seeking approval for the installation of 4 HVAC condensers. These would be located on a lower roof on the rear of the building, set against State Street. There is existing mechanical equipment on that rooftop now. These units would be placed behind and would also be lower in scale than the existing units that are there. And this is a photo just to show sort of how large some of those existing pieces already are. These would just be your kind of simple condenser, much smaller in scale.
So could I bring up a point? I think that situation like this, that the code would want them to have some sort of fencing as a safety measure. And if they come back to us, I really feel on the top of this building that it should not just be a pipe at 3 feet all the way around. It should be more on the, it should be like a fence around the top of this building. I think it would work on this flat roof building, and it would help to obscure all of this equipment that's up there. There's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we can make a stipulation to ask them to come back if they need
Yes,
any sort of fencing for code.
yeah, rather than somebody just, you know,
And they would have to come back to us.
Any other questions for 49 Pleasant Street? Okay. That will bring us to our last administrative approval item for tonight. That is 229 Pleasant Street. And the owner here is seeking approval for the installation of HVAC equipment and AC condenser. They just received Board of Adjustment approval, actually last night, for the placement. And so they are now seeking our approval following that. The easiest viewpoint to see where the location is sort of this viewpoint here. The location of the condenser would be behind this gate that is in between these two structures. So it would have that fencing and that gate there to block part of the view. So that's where the location is located. They've also indicated that there would be, or would have to be, some conduit lines that would have to run up and sort of around the corner of the building. They've tried to indicate that as well. And here's just an overview, an aerial, so you can kind of see where that fence is, the gate, and then there's an existing condenser for the neighboring unit, and they would be going just a little bit further back.
so I have a question. Is that 2 lines? There seems to be a plethora of lines here. You know, quite, one goes straight up. The other one goes, something goes around the bottom and then goes up.
Yes, I believe you are correct, John. It appears in this photo here that one line set goes right up to the second story and goes in. The other line set goes down the bottom here below this window, wraps around the corner of the property, and that's where I believe we are seeing, sorry, there's lots of photos.
There.
That's where we see it come around this corner here travel up aside the window and then keep moving its way through to the corner of the building.
So are we thinking that it should be painted siding color?
Siding and trim to match.
Everybody's shaking their head.
Yep.
Some
Do we have any other maybe comments or suggestions for the applicant? Or are we-
Yeah, I would almost, well, certainly on the side, I'd rather see, if they're going to do this, a straight line rather than wiggle around the window.
Sure.
So if they could possibly just make it straight
Yep.
beside the window. And then, I don't know if it's possible, the front of the building is the trickier one. I don't know, how would people feel about asking if they could do it on that trim piece that goes across, so it's not cutting across in the middle of the clapboards?
Oh, up higher.
Right, so it would go up maybe another couple of feet and then follow this white trim board across.
But then it would have to come down, Reagan. Then it would have to come down from there because they have a location for the unit.
Yep.
Any other comments? Just painted, stipulation painted to match, whatever it's, wherever it is.
Right.
It is an interesting diagram, I must admit. I don't know how they actually did that. I think they
And these
used some sort of
clapboards have a small reveal.
Some kind
It's
of-
gonna be really.
yellow magic marker or something.
AI.
Okay, so with that, that is our last administrative approval item. I'll just sort of quickly run through those with any stipulations. Starting with item number 1, 39 Dearborn Street. We just have stipulated that the hardy board siding be installed in a way that it does not exactly match up. It is a more staggered or randomized way to match the existing siding.
And then we always say smooth side out.
Right.
And with the-
Flat finish, not
But, yep.
Yeah,
The flat finish or smooth side.
faux
Yep.
wood grain.
Item number 2, 179 Pleasant Street, approved as presented. Item number 3, 3 Pleasant Street, approved as presented. Item number 4, 30 Penn Hollow Street, approved as presented. 218 State Street, we approved with the stipulation that they also remove the conduit line, but they could leave the electrical box and paint that to match the brick that it's up against to hide that.
Repair any
And,
damage.
and also repair any damage to the brick from that removal process. Item number 6, 53 Green Street, approved as presented. Item number 7, 46 Maplewood Avenue, approved as presented. Item number 8, 245 Marcy Street, we approved with the stipulation that the venting be painted black so that it blends more into the chimney insert. Item number 9, 49 Pleasant Street, we have the stipulation that if for any reason the applicant needs to install a fence per code, that they will come back and they will have to present that fence option for approval to the commission. Lastly, item number 10 is 229 Pleasant Street, and we approved with the stipulation that any conduit lines running from the new AC condenser will either match the siding and or the trim color depending on where that needs to go.
And straighten the
And
line.
straighten the line on the side.
Yes, and to straighten the line on the side
Elevation. if
elevation.
possible. All right. Can I have a motion?
I will approve, make a motion to approve those with stipulations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You. Okay, so now moving on to public hearings. Public hearing, new business. Number 1 is the petition of Emily Niehaus and Bernard T. Rosler, owners, for property located at 44 Gardner Street. wherein permission is requested to allow exterior renovations to an existing structure, replace all existing windows, siding, window casings, and corner boards, and the installation of mechanical equipment, HVAC condenser, and venting for the kitchen, bathrooms, as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 42 and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts. So who is here to present this one?
Good evening, Chair. Jeff Kissel, Dock and Builders, 2069 Lafayette Road. In Portsmouth, to my left is Bernie and Emily Rosler, 44 Gardner Street, and the applicant. I do have a couple pictures I just wanted to bring up that I didn't see in the application.
We have just a few copies, so just pass it.
Okay.
I didn't want to waste
It's
the
okay, thank you.
Before you tonight is a fairly simple application. I know you guys had a site walk earlier today and a full agenda, and the Celtics are on, so I'll keep it brief. But we are looking to remove all the existing siding, the wooden clapboards, the exterior trim, corner boards, window casings, and door casings. We'll be leaving the freeze boards and the roof line trim, and replacing that with a hardy clapboard, 4-inch reveal with a smooth finish, and then PVC trim, let it be an AZAC or a clear. We're going to match the profiles that they currently have. The 4-inch, 5 3/4, or 5 1/4 inch, with like a 6-inch header and then a crown molding across the top. We're also going to be replacing all the windows with the Marvin Ultimate. If you'll see the schedule from Marvin in there, it's a 2/1 SDL window, aluminum clad. And then the last thing is there's a couple of penetrations in the wall for bathroom vents and a hood vent as well. And those are the pictures that I've added to there where those locations would be. Currently, there aren't vents in the bathroom, so this would help with all the moisture in there. And then the last thing is we are doing an HVAC system for a ducted system in the basement to service the first floor, and then one in the attic to service the upper floor. So then there would be a condenser on the south-facing side, which is that image right there. It's pretty much everything. I'm not sure if you guys have questions for me. Happy to answer them.
Anyone? Questions, comments? Right, John?
I guess my question is, why are you replacing the siding?
It's deferred maintenance. It is really kind of.
It needs to be painted.
It needs to be replaced. There's enough clapboards on there that need to be replaced that, in our opinion, it's better off to remove everything and give this the longevity of the home that we want to see there.
Current clapboards, are they cedar, are they pine, are they,
They're cedar,
okay. Age?
unknown.
Okay.
Else?
And you've chosen hardy versus wood for what reason?
For maintenance, and it is an approved material in the HDC. We just felt like that was a better material for the longevity of the home.
And the windows that are being replaced, can you tell us the age and condition of the current windows?
Unknown. I'm assuming they're not original, but I'm going to say they're single pane windows. They're lacking energy efficiency, and a Marvin Ultimate window is in my opinion one of the two windows that this HEC approves between that and a Green Mountain window. So yeah.
I would just say that I'm looking at the photographs, and I have to say that the siding looks like it's in pretty good shape. I mean, I think it would be a lot of effort to replace that siding, to remove it when a scrape down job and a good paint job will last, 25 years. I know Hardy Plank will last 225 years, but
Maybe.
it won't be the same.
We don't know.
But-
We don't know.
Does it have a 200-year warranty?
That's just a quip, I'm sorry. Geez, they take me so literally.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'd have a tough time with
Century.
just saying, yeah, let's get rid of the wood siding. It looks like it's in really good shape and, good coat of paint. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to replace a board here or there, but, wow.
There's a lot of siding on the back of the house that had been patched in in a way where, you guys had just talked about earlier, all the seams were patched in straight through. So, that would need to be fully replaced. A lot of it is, we don't know, lead, everything on there. The cost to scrape and remove lead too is, just as,
So your point in doing this is to make the building lead-free?
One, to be clear, don't know. It has not been tested for the lead. But, it's, I'm going to assume that there is lead there. And, yes, that would be a goal.
But you're not going to remove any of the cornice work or any of the other trim other than the corner boards?
Yeah, so the frieze, the soffit, the fascia, the shadow boards, we'd love to replace those. Unfortunately, when we went to look at them, everything is kind of tucked up. The frieze board's tucked up underneath the soffit then up to the fascia and the shadow, which then goes into the drip edge. And, once you start pulling off that fascia board and that shadow with the drip edge, you're starting to damage that drip edge, causing further issues. That's why we wanted to leave that for now and attack that. The proper time to do that would be during a roofing replacement.
I'm just going to go along with what some of my fellow commissioners here said, and to me, I'm looking at this paint and I blow it up as close as I can see, and it just looks like it needs a good scraping. And the fact that there's cedar boards, I know from my own experience, I've got 200-year-old cedar boards on the side of my own house, and I'm not going to be putting in a property claim on that, but I look at this, and when you talk about hardy boards in terms of not just the integrity of the project and the homogeneity with what's already there, but also the cost effectiveness for the existing owners to do some, patching and replacing and scraping and painting would seem to be far more cost effective than strip the whole thing in hardy board. Unless they have a preference for that. But
I can check with them on that.
As it's been pointed out to the commission in the past, what the homeowners decide to spend their money on is up to them. However, we have been encouraged to support the sustainability and conservation is a big part of what the HDC does, and to just rip off all of this, regardless of the condition. There could be large sections that are in very good condition. There will probably be some sections that are not. This is a large home. It's in a very prominent location. It's right next to one of our historic gems. To rip off all of this original, or at least original material, may not be, probably not original to the house, but original material, it just doesn't seem to fit with the values of the district. The windows, I'd be very happy to take a look at that if we could get more information on the condition of them, if they cannot be fixed, restored, improved. It looks like there are storms on some of these. What's the condition of the storms? Could you replace or improve those storms as opposed to tearing these out and throwing them in the landfill? So perhaps another look at this from a sustainability and point of view would be worthwhile. Did you, Reagan?
Yeah, and I'll just say, this house has been before us several times in the past several years through previous owners. And a couple owners ago, they took a lot of care to rebuild this porch so that it was done in a really sensitive way, using wood, using some AZEK and, the trim around the base of the porch, the skirt boards and things like that were the PVC. But everything else was done really sensitively and carefully. And at one point, this house came before us, and the owners did ask for replacement windows, and we said, well, can you take a look and see if these windows could be restored, put a better storm on them, that sort of thing. And they came back and said, yep, never mind, we're gonna do that. I realize these are different owners, but it is hard to kind of see where people in the past have really taken care to maintain the integrity of all the materials of this building, and then have new owners come through and say, we just want to rip it all out and put new stuff in. So yes, we have approved AZEK in certain locations around the historic district, kind of begrudgingly. We don't, only where is necessary for fireproofing or is in a location that gets a lot of exposure, is really moisture prone or something like that, where a composite material is warranted. But me personally, I would also say, I don't see why these wouldn't be the original clapboards, and that wood is going to be so much better, even just piecing in. Yes, maybe you have to replace the rear elevation, but that original material, that older wood is going to be so much better than even the AZEK, even the composite stuff that you put on, the Hardie, just because it's better, it's denser, it's older, and yes, it might have some lead paint on there, but so do all of the other houses around, and we deal with it, and it's that look of understanding and seeing the texture of the historic materials is part of what makes our historic district, part of the setting and texture of our historic district. Yes, John?
So I'm going to take a little bit different opinion here. I'm feeling that looking at this building as far as energy efficiency would go, that old windows with those storm windows, I don't think are anywhere near as efficient as these Marvin Ultimate. So my opinion is, I think that the windows at this point in the construction on this make more sense, and then cleaning up the clapboards and repainting, that's what I'm in favor of.
Can I?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. I can read the writing on the wall. So we are looking to do the siding and window replacements this fall. They have a growing family due soon. That's not exactly something we want to be doing during that early stages. We would love to replace the windows. We can look at replacing in kind the existing clapboards. My question would be for Isaac, would that just be going through a building permit process if we're using the same material, or would we have to come back for that?
It would probably be something that the commission would want to have come back for administrative approval.
Okay.
They'd want to see, how much of that clapboard siding is being replaced, where is that clapboard siding being replaced, and then, how sensitive is it going to be woven back into that original fabric.
Okay. And then I think the biggest thing for us right now, moving into the summer seasons, would be looking at the wall penetrations for the hood vents and the AC condenser. That is something that, we have, HVAC techs lined up soon to do. So we would like to at least move forward with that part of the application and then reevaluate the siding. And if we'd love to keep the windows in there, just get that on order would be great. We probably might have to come back for an administrative approval on the windows anyways, just because, you know, we do before ordering, we will pop off the interior trim, get the right ROs, and that might adjust the sizes a little bit. So we would want to come back for that and an administrative
Another
approval.
question. You're saying adjust the ROs, so you're going to remove the windows totally, everything outside trim and put in new construction windows?
Yes.
Why don't you use replacement windows?
We
It's
don't.
so much simpler.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It is so simple.
a better window. A new construction window is definitely
Is
a
it
better
better?
window. Yes.
Why is it better? Because it has a nailing fin on it.
And it's better insulation value around it as well.
Well, I'm not so much sure about that, but, I mean, I have done an awful lot of windows myself. It all depends on the care and attention that you pay to the space that might be there for the window weights. And that obviously has to be insulated, and obviously the window weights would have to be removed.
Mr. Wyckoff, may I just suggest that it's going to have an effect on the ROs also. The window weights, I'm sure you know this, are set back enough so that there isn't a place for that nailing flange that you're talking about to actually get nailed to.
They'd have to shrink each opening in.
They'd have to do some
You know,
carpentry work.
3.5 inches or 4 inches on each opening. I mean, if you're looking simplification of job, and if you're looking for the minimalization of lead, okay, the easiest, this is just my opinion, but the easiest thing to minimize the lead, although this might make it a smaller job, is to put in replacement windows. All you do is remove the trim on the inside, okay, and then repair the siding. Now, you're saying that by scraping the clapboards that you're releasing lead down onto the soil. I assume you're lead certified and you know the proper procedure.
We do.
But taking a pry bar and ripping all those clapboards off the house, that lead goes everywhere. So to me, it's like this, you know.
I think we're not really talking as much about the clapboards anymore, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yes, Mark.
Just making a point.
I was going to, what I'm hearing the applicant's representative say is that right now, the most important thing is to get approval for the HVAC and the vents, because you've got that lined up, and we can move forward with that. It seems very straightforward. We've proved a lot of these things. The only thing would be a sample of the screening that you're going to use to screen the HVAC unit, which can be given to Isaac later and approved as an administrative approval. And then I think you've heard what we have to say with regard to the siding, and the windows perhaps need a little more reconsideration. So at this point, would you like us to render an opinion on the HVAC and the venting side and come back?
Yeah, one last question. I would love that, yes. One last question would be, as a board, it was my understanding that, you know, a new construction window was preferred over a replacement window. And so that's why we went that route, to be clear.
I think well, as you can tell, there are various opinions on what needs to be done where.
Yeah.
And, you know, my personal opinion is that I'm going to be very reluctant to say, sure, rip out all of these old windows without having any information as to their condition, how they can be, you know, restored, rehabilitated. You know, there are plenty of studies out there that show that, you know, restoring your window, putting weather stripping in there and putting a nice tight new storm window in may not be at, you know, 100% more as efficient as like a new construction window, but it gets you pretty far. And so it's, you know, it's a lot less expensive too, to do it that way. So,
And that would lead me to one last other question, and it would be the Ultimates versus the Elevates for Marvin. I was under the impression that Ultimates was the preferred window, but I had gone back and reviewed a lot of applications recently that were the Elevates. yeah, the elevates. Is that, a preferred product? Because again, if we're talking not new construction, we're now talking replacement windows, there is a significant savings to the clients,
I
which
think
is
that-
preferred.
I don't personally know what the, difference is. I'm not a builder, so I think that for a lot of us, you would have to bring in some sort of example to show what the difference between those two would be and what the final look
He's
would
got
be.
it right here.
And that's what these would be.
Okay.
And just to be clear,
Bring 'em up
it's
there.
an aluminum clad window, as you can see here, versus a fiberglass, which fiberglass is not a vinyl window, it is different.
Right.
This does emulate a wooden window better. But there is, we're talking $200-300 a window difference in this, so.
Really, which one is
And we
more
can address that, we'll have to address that, because I actually don't think, not positive, that this comes in a replacement window, so.
Okay.
If I can just interject something, and I don't want to build on what John said, because I think Commissioner Wykoff made a really great comment. Replacement versus new construction. If it's not just a cost savings to the people, and that's not the purpose of the HDC, but when you look at new construction windows, you're removing all of the wood trim on the inside, all of the wood trim on the outside. And all that stuff gets thrown away, which is also along with what our chair had indicated about filling up landfills, where if you do the replacement window, all that gets done is the trim on the inside gets removed, that unit gets slid right in place. 9 times out of 10, you can put the old trim right back on. Everything works fine. And I know a really good window for that. And no, I don't own Stockton Anderson, but the Anderson Woodwright window works extremely well in a replacement situation like that. And it's very cost
We've
effective.
approved that, too.
Well, and I'll just say that, as I always say when talking about window replacements, that for sustainability purposes, continuing to use your original windows is by far the most environmentally friendly step you can do, because you're using existing materials. Again, that wood is really hard. It's infinitely repairable, whereas you put in a new replacement window and that will last 30 to 40 years, maybe depending on how, if you're lucky, before the seals of the insulated glass goes and all this stuff, and that just ends up in a landfill. So,
Thank you, I appreciate you guys' comments on this. I will be back regarding that stuff,
Okay.
but I would love to hear an opinion. Thank you.
any more questions on this, and then I'll open it to public hearing. So it sounds like we'll at the very least, move forward with your mechanical venting and things. Okay. Anyone from the public wanting to speak to, for, or against this? Okay. Seeing no one rise, anybody online? Just to make sure.
Sure, lots of people.
Okay, great. All right, so I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the request for installation of HVAC equipment and venting with the stipulation that appropriate screening for the HVAC condenser be presented for administrative approval. And with regard to the other requests, that would be continued.
Can we do that?
Second?
Okay. Great. Can I have purpose and intent, your
Sure.
findings?
The request has the conservation of an enhancement of property values and is compatibility of design with surrounding properties.
All right. All those in favor, and Larry, you are voting for this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Chair
Thank
votes
you.
aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
It might be helpful to get a little more history on those windows.
Yeah.
And if
I
they're
apologize, what was that?
on the windows you have there. Yeah, I mean, if they're,
A little bit more information,
Oh, okay, I couldn't
documentation,
hear what
and
you
Yeah,
said.
window
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank
put
you.
in what type of, yep.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, moving on to number 2, the petition of the Morales Family Trust, 2020 owner, for a property located at 33 Johnson Court, wherein permission is requested to allow the installation of mechanical equipment, rooftop-mounted solar panels, as per plans on file in the Planning Department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 110 as Lot 12 and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts. who is here to present this project? Hi, please come, please
Hi, good
introduce
evening.
yourself.
I'm Dan Hackett with Revision Energy. We're here representing the Morales family, sitting here to your right, second row, third row. I'd like to just start with a brief overview of the proposed system that we're planning to or proposing to install in the Morales' family's home, then invite Mr. Morales to come up and speak in support of his application. The application that's been submitted to the city is for a 25-panel system on 2 roof surfaces. Both roof surfaces are south-southwest facing and have approximately a 27-degree pitch. The first array over the main house is proposed as an 8-panel over 8-panel array that is symmetrical. These are flush-mounted, all-black panels made by Q-Cells, and all conduit connecting the arrays to the home's main electrical service panel would be passing through attic space and would not be visible from the front of the house. The second array that's proposed is over what I call the garage space, and the proposed layout is 6 panels in portrait orientation on the bottom row, followed by 3 panels in landscape. That is because the space available for mounting doesn't have any additional space for 2 rows of 6. Let's see. Oh, and just a note, the Q-Cell panels that are in this application are the same panels, essentially identical in appearance to the panels for applications that you've recently seen for like 45 Richmond, which Revision has been involved in as well. So with that, I'd invite Mr. Morales to come up if that's all right with the commission.
Of course. Come on up, you just to come up to the podium. No, I don't think, is there a question?
Well, actually,
So, did you have one? Sorry.
I just had one question about the layout over the garage space.
Sure.
I don't know the dimensions of the panels. Are they 2x4, as in if you turned all of the panels, could you, if all the panels went landscape, would you have the same number of panels, more panels, fewer panels?
It's a very good question. I'll do some quick math.
Okay.
I don't know the answer offhand, but I can probably find out. But in the interim, Mr. Morales?
Well, good evening. I'm Albert Morales and my wife Kristen. We're the homeowners there. I previously submitted some comments in writing. I hope you've had the chance to review them. I'm not going to repeat all of that here. Looks like you have a busy agenda, so I'll just be very brief. I hope it's evident that we meet each of the criteria for approval, at least as I think they currently stand. I know it's currently under discussion. The panels will be, at most, only minimally visible from any public way. They will not call attention to themselves. They'll be black. They're flush mounted. We're not going to give them any noisemakers or vuvuzelas or anything. They've promised to be really quiet. The home is circa 1920s. There are no architectural features. All they'll be covering is asphalt roof shingles. For these reasons, we believe that they should be approved. I'd also provided some comments kind of broader in context. I don't know if it's relevant at this point in time. Maybe that's a discussion for another day. But I would like to say that for us anyway, we do think it's important to combat climate change. But at the same time, the principal drivers here are not about that. I'm the chief financial officer of an energy company, and I do not make decisions based on whim or fancy or feel-good notions. We're doing this simply because it really makes sense. It adds value to the home, it locks in our energy costs, protects us from all sorts of risks, energy price volatility, power outages, and the like. The way I see it, solar has evolved, and today it is simply an other convenience that adds to quality of life and is cost effective, just like air conditioning, electrical light, exterior electrical lighting, all sorts of things. For these reasons, I ask that you take that into account to whatever extent you deem appropriate. With that, respectfully request that you approve our proposal, and we love living in Portsmouth. We want to live in our house for the rest of our lives, and we are in the process of taking steps to prepare for the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions or comments for the applicant, or have you done your math?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
And good news, yes, it appears that 9 panels, the same number that's shown here, could fit in all the landscape, 3 rows of landscape, which would be symmetrical.
Thank you.
What was that again? I didn't get that.
So if on the,
Garage
over the garage.
Yes.
You can, if we turned all the panels so that they were sort of horizontal to the roof's edge, then you could fit the same number on there, and it would, but it would be much more symmetrically laid out. So,
As opposed to vertical and then horizontal. In the same
Would all be
array.
horizontal.
yeah, so you could have them all horizontal and get the same number of panels on there.
Isn't that something?
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Sure, Martin?
I'd just say that, see, we're struggling with this currently. Most of your application doesn't really tell us anything we want to see and want to know. I looked up the property on a neighborhood map, and you can see that this house, like the applicant said, it's not seen from the public way. That's the most important aspect for me. You know, all the diagrams, all the loading calcs, and all the other things, just for your future reference when you're assisting a client, we look at things architecturally, design-wise. So I have no problem with this application. I can support it. But for future reference, I would just simply say, you know, we don't need to know, you know, a whole bunch of
Right.
things that height, all the technical specs and things like that. It's more the architectural that we judge it by, and the fact that how it sits in the neighborhood, and for those reasons, I can support it.
So I think, you know, just point to the pages that we got today with your photos and everything that the applicant gave, is great, and that should have been included in, most of us just got this today. So that could have been included in your application, and that would have been perfect. We wouldn't need all the sort of technical specs, just that information and your photos, so.
Yep, the views.
Yep. Great. Anybody else?
Well, I just want to, you know, echo what everybody else has said, like particularly Martin just said. I think you meet all of the existing criteria, minimally visible from a public way. I think just addressing the owners, I think you're extremely well-spoken. I think you covered all the high points, and I think you did a really great job of justifying the installation, and I can clearly support it, so thank you.
Thank you.
I had one comment on your letter, and there certainly is this, putting solar panels on are going to add a big value to your house. Being in the historic district also adds a big value to your house too. You can't forget that, and if suddenly we took the whole historic district away, your prices would drop quite a bit. So yes, this does, the future of your house value increases. But we still have to be careful that one of the things that makes Portsmouth, brings people to our restaurant, again, as everybody knows, is the historical part. But I agree, this fits in with all our criteria.
Enough said.
Welcome back, Rich.
Thank you.
Dave, you're good?
All good.
Okay, all right. And I'll just, comment that everything is very well presented here. Again, I appreciate the, all the work that you put into sort of the memo that you gave us with the photographs. So, thank you. And, sure, we'll open up to public hearing, to public comment. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, if the public comment is still open, I just wanted to add something from a neighbor's perspective. My name is Lou Harriman, and my wife and I have lived at 57 South Street since 1976. And I think you have in your package a note that I'd forwarded to Isaac about our support for the project.
Yes, I'll note that we have several letters of support in this.
So I'll just reiterate from a neighbor's perspective, we think this is a wonderful thing for all the reasons that I've laid out in our letter to you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Anyone online? Okay, great. I will close the public hearing then and wait a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we approve this application for solar panels, rooftop accessories. Again, I think it's done well. I think the reasons would be that we'll have conservation enhancement of the property values and probably compatibility of innovative technologies.
Second?
Second.
So many seconds.
Whoever
Some
seconded.
discussion?
Sure, we can have a little bit of discussion. Now that it's seconded, John, thank you. We can have a discussion.
So the only discussion I wanted to raise was the question of how the panels would be arranged, and whether the panels over the garage would be turned so that each one of the arrays has the same orientation as opposed to a flipped orientation. I have a preference that it would change so that each array would have the same orientation. I don't wanted to just ask if that was something that anybody else had a strong feeling about, and if the homeowners had a strong feeling one way or the other.
I would think you'd let the applicant choose how they're oriented.
That's fine. I don't have a strong feelings personally because I don't think that these are just going to be
Gonna be
very visible.
noticeable.
So,
Then we'll leave it up to the owners.
any other discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, chair votes aye. Thank you very much. You have your approval. And we'll move to the next, which is number 3, petition of P&L 66 South LLC owner for property located at 66 South Street, unit number 2, wherein permission is requested to allow exterior renovations to an existing structure, replace the remaining siding with hardy plank siding, and replace the remaining windows on unit number 2, as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 101 as Lot 70-2 and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts. Who is here to present this?
Can I just make one
Sure,
quick
of
interjection?
course.
Excuse me. After having a couple of conversations with the applicants, unfortunately, it was after noticing had happened. They have had a change of mind for the siding, so I'll let them present that.
Okay.
Just wanted to note that.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Amorosa. This is my husband, Peter, and this is our third time, I think, coming to meet with you. And the reason we did choose to change our siding is because even if you did approve the hardy plank for the back side of the house, which is where we are, I think our neighbors are looking to do something with their siding, and I don't think you would approve it for the front side of the house. So to keep it uniform, we decided we would replace with wood, because I think that's what you would want for the front of the house.
Great, and I think that, well, we can get the specifics, but, hopefully you can find the radially sawn clapboards that are better, good, high-quality clapboards that will hopefully last longer than any of the less expensive pre-primed stuff out there.
Yes, I think, I don't know if you received what we had sent you, but yeah. So basically, when we came in December, you had approved a window that we got from Matthews Brothers, which is a company in Maine that has been building windows for, I don't even know how long, probably 200 years or something. I don't know. They said they used to build them out of wood for historic homes, and then they worked with a lot of historic districts to come up with a more newer material window that would still replicate the old historic windows. So we do have one it should be shown in the packet that we have already installed. There it is. And we'd just like to order the same windows for the rest of our unit that would match the one that was already approved.
And that is shown, if you got photos, if you scroll back up. Photos of the,
5 windows.
so, just that, so you're looking to replace the photos on that elevation. I mean, the windows
Right.
in that elevation.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Keep going, Heather, more
There's, and then
windows?
the one below underneath is the other side.
Right. Okay, so a total of how many windows?
13.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Yes?
So we approved these windows
It happened.
in December? They're not simulated divided
No,
lights.
I don't know if we knew that, if we caught that.
Yeah, they're just a grid in between the panes of glass,
Jesus.
which is something that we haven't approved in 10 years. I don't know how this
Yeah,
all
I don't know how
happened,
that happened.
whether we did not. I don't know. I'd like to go back and look at
I think it was felt it was all in the back and only on the small new addition.
Yeah, but now they're going around the
I
corner.
know, I had the
That's,
same
that's the
concern,
whole
too.
thing. They're going around the corner of the house, heading towards the front with these windows. They do look entirely different because by not having the muntins on the outside of the glass, it's just a smooth glass surface. And then they're going to place a black mesh fiberglass screen over it. I have a real problem with that fiberglass screen.
I'm looking back at, my iPad is frozen, but I'm looking back at the December
Oh, you are?
things to see, it looks like,
Just the minutes, are you looking at?
no, I'm looking at the applications. This was a administrative approval.
What?
And the specifications we got were just photos of the, it was actually, it looks like they were originally Anderson windows that it looks like were,
We were trying to decide between both windows, and you had, I think, I don't know if it's in the minutes, but you had said either one was fine depending on availability.
okay. I think what wasn't clear, because these were just photographs of catalogs, is what the specification of these windows were. I don't think we would have ever approved windows that were just the grills in between the glass. That was not a
So
simulated divided
these
light.
windows can come the way you're talking about, so we can order them that way with the grills on the outside.
Yes, I think we would have to insist that there would be the,
And half screen.
and half screens.
And yeah, I think
This
half.
window does have a half screen.
It is a half
The one you
screen.
approved, you were adamant about a half screen.
Yeah. Any other information about the condition of the current windows? I think one of the reasons that we allowed so easily the replacement of the last windows is that it was a new, they were.
It wasn't a new, that came up at the April meeting as well. We didn't put an addition on. That
Okay.
was there.
I think the window that you were replacing, though, it looked like was a newer window, potentially.
There was a window there that we took out and,
Okay.
it was a mulled window. We took it out and put that window in. And there was a door next to that. and
Right.
The door went around the other side.
Right.
But half the windows don't close, the other half don't open. A third of them leak quite a bit. They're in very, very bad condition.
Do you know the age of the windows?
We don't,
Are they all wood?
yes.
Do they have weights?
They did it one time, they've all broken and fallen off and not there anymore.
So if you move forward with a divided light window, worst case is you're gonna have one that's not the one that's already installed.
Correct. And there is a fence that's there that kind of blocks that corner of the house.
Yep. Reagan?
Yes, sorry.
So just a comment is this offending window that we're looking at without the muntins on the outside of the glass is kind of tucked into the corner. It's sort of, not hidden. My whole problem was as it goes around and then comes up towards all of those windows, and there's quite a few windows. So, and there again, this is one of those condo things where we can only hope that the other person's going to use the same brand. What do you think?
Yeah, they're waiting for us to get approval, and they're just going to follow suit. So we're working very closely with them.
Oh,
They're
that's
going
good.
to do replacement windows and try to preserve the trim like you talked about in your other application.
You could see it would be a terrible shame if they decided to have a whole different type of window.
Yeah, their front part is a lot nicer looking than the part on the back is not as nice. I'll just say that.
There's a lot of water damage, a lot of rot.
Nice is not a word that we have in our purview.
Right. Martin?
I'm sure I attended the December meeting. I would never approve a Matthews Brothers window. It's an all vinyl window. This would be a new low standard for what we would allow for a historic home. There must have been a miscommunication, I gotta think. I cannot support this window. I said it last meeting, it's not historically appropriate, and I stand by it, and I'm seeing it. It's an all vinyl window. It's not appropriate. Sorry.
So what window would you approve?
Something a little more historically accurate. I would even approve a clad window. Your Andersons, your Marvins, there are plenty of windows that are acceptable that are not much different price range. I looked at Matthews Brothers for my own home, and I just felt that they were not appropriate. I have a historic home, and I would not use them.
So the Marvin window you'd be okay with?
A Marvin type, there are Marvins that are all vinyl too. I'm just saying that the all vinyl is not I think a lot of us are dancing around this. An all vinyl window for our historic district would be a new standard. So some wood, something more substantial, more historically accurate. Mutton's more historically accurate than, just a clip-on. I mean, you have a beautiful house, you should put the right windows in.
Yeah, we're just struggling to find out what that is.
Sure. Well, Isaac can help.
Isaac will give you the list of the approved. You have to do that.
Dan, did you have your hand? Oh,
Well, I
Larry.
was just going to say, and the petitioners have very useful information that the other condo owners want to replace their windows as well. So certainly in light of what Martin had just said, whatever we approve, have to have in mind that it's going to probably end up on the rest of the house too. And, so like I said earlier, if we approve something that's wood with divided light on the rest of the house, then, okay, we've just got that one ball window, and I know that it's there, and that's it. But then at least the rest of the stuff's consistent moving forward. And that would probably help your other fellow condo owners to say, okay, we've approved you for this, so they're going to be approved for that. You know what I'm saying? Then we've all got apples and not apples and oranges and grapefruit and.
I mean, don't forget the Green Mountain windows,
Absolutely.
which are premium. These are $1,200 windows or something, but they are, they're an amazing window. And as, the Anderson Woodwright, as Larry mentioned.
I think our neighbor 2 houses down, I think, is putting in the Marvin Elevate. And so we've gotten a very close look at them, and they honestly look just like the window that you approved for us.
Well, they're wood on the inside and clad on the outside. That's what the difference is. They're actually a wood window.
They have real dividers.
Yeah.
Not just the plastic grills or anything. If you look at them, there's 8 separate pieces of glass as opposed to one huge one with plastic behind them.
So,
But they could go simulated.
Yeah, the simulated. I think also, if we're talking about the future of this building, all of its windows, I would still also like to see a little bit more information about the current condition of all of the windows. Because again, like I said before, if you can restore and get these to work again, a carpenter can do that a whole lot more cheaply than getting a new window put in. And even with the storm windows, it's going to be a lot less expensive for you. And they'll function just fine and keep all the water out. If they're, if you bring them back to us, or if one of us goes over there to take a closer look at it, and they're 1970s Brosco wood windows or something like that, don't have really any historic value or anything like that, then I think this conversation will be a lot easier, especially when we're looking at the whole building.
Yeah, they have aluminum tracks on the inside.
That's the item,
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
1974.
Yeah, so then those are Brosco windows.
Okay, fine. So that information up front would have been really helpful. So, okay, then, and is that, the other thing though is that we want to look at is that, well, we won't deal with your neighbors until they come to us, but we still, we just want to get an idea of what the precedent we're setting for this particular building. Any other questions, Dave?
They just feel like they really want a direction to go in.
Yes.
And if you, do you think you can give them that?
Yes.
Yes. now
We'd
that-
just love to be able to order the windows. We thought we were going to be able to order them last month, and we'd love to be able to order them tomorrow. So, I mean, if you can say a Marvin Elevate or a Anderson whatever, or
Green
some,
Mountain or whatever.
I mean, whatever you,
Give
can
them
you just
something.
give us some window choices that we?
Yes, and I will take the direction from those experts that are on the commission here, because I am not a builder. But we have approved Marvin Elevate, we have approved Anderson Woodwright, we have approved Anderson 400.
There's an architectural series,
Architectural
that's
series?
their best window.
Okay.
So all of those.
Green Mountain, you've heard.
So could we potentially decide on that tonight? I mean, are we going to have to come back next month?
I think we can, with, with some specifics, and you can bring back the specifications to Isaac to look, and he can even bring it to us next week, because we're meeting again.
Stipulations that they have half screen.
Stipulation that they be simulated divided light, half screen, 6/6,
There are some windows with some odd
Right,
patterns.
you
so
do
we
have
should-
some windows with just that are casements or something.
And then there's one that's stationary.
Oh, yeah. That little stained glass, is that being removed too?
No, that
Okay,
was
good.
it.
Okay, good. So, yes, I think that we could give you a few options that are potential, and if you can bring it to administrative approval even for next week, if you can get that information to Isaac as quickly as possible.
Sure.
I don't know
So
if
there's
you can.
other things on the application that
Yes.
I should probably touch on.
Sure.
So those are, it's kind of probably hard for you to see, but, so all of the windows, if you want to come back down.
To the side view.
Okay, right there. So on the top picture, all of those windows will be replaced, but the two that are down at the bottom left, after speaking with Shanti Wolf and Paul, I think, they want us to have, what is it, an egress window there. So that would be a little different right there. And then the one to the right of those two mold windows is a bathroom. And that area in front of it is our neighbor's yard. So we were hoping to just put a smaller window, like the bathroom above it, just like a half the size high, for privacy reasons.
So are these sides, are they all listed in your
Yes.
window schedule?
Yeah, they are.
I just wanted to talk about it because,
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, there's one other window that is an egress issue. If there's a vision looking at the end of the house where the new door is, I don't know if you have that.
I don't know that I do have a picture of that.
It might be missing something on the fire code, but why do you need the egress window if you have a door on the end?
Second floor.
Oh, second floor. Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah, that window right there, I don't know if you can see that
Oh,
picture.
Yeah.
There we go.
So that's on the very back side of the house, and that was gonna be a crank out
An egress.
egress.
Right.
So
So-
nothing, a regular double hung won't fit in the
Sure.
structural framing.
So it'll be one of the egress windows that has the thicker meeting rail to simulate that it's a double hung, but it's a
Yes.
casement.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think they understand what you just said.
Okay. Do you understand what I just said?
Yeah, it will look like a normal window.
Like a double hung?
Yeah.
So it won't be, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll have the middle meeting rail will be thicker.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And every window you're going to replace size for size except for that third window from the left on the first floor.
So on the first floor, yeah, and then I was actually, a couple other things while we're on,
That window gets a little bit bigger to make the egress size.
Yeah.
Okay. That one there.
and that
I mean, the
vent,
one about the bathroom. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
that vent we would like to remove. It's on the back side and just have siding there.
Just put clapboards back? Okay.
Yeah. And then if you could go back to the two pictures with the one on top of the other showing all the windows.
Yeah, on the back side, there's, and it's in the schedule.
So on the other side here, the bottom picture, the two mulled windows there, we would like to just make that a one window, so that will change that side a little bit.
Well, that's going to an awning window. So those two.
Oh,
those two-
sorry, yeah,
Those two
sorry.
mold windows would come out, and there would be a small awning window there. And the same thing on the other window to the left. That would be shrunk down to an awning window, is what's in the application. Because that's a neighbor's parking lot, so there's always a car
Our
there.
car is always right in front of those windows. So we thought just since that's the main living room there, we just thought it would be good for privacy if we could make them a little bit higher.
But just the two, not the third one to the left.
Well, so it would really just end up being two windows. That mold one, we'd like to bring that down to one window.
Which one?
The one with the bottom right.
Right, but which one is going and which one is staying?
So those two windows would come out, and to the window to the right would be about a half-size window there, and the one to the left would be half-size.
Right. So you're going to put one window in the center of where that opening?
More to the
was?
right side,
More
yeah.
to the right side?
These windows are first and second floor windows are lined up with each other.
I don't think they're exactly lined up. I think they're a little mismatched.
Okay?
Yeah, I don't think any windows line up.
But if you were, the one that, okay, the single window of the three that we're discussing on the first floor, you're requesting to make that into an awning window smaller than what's there.
Correct.
And you aren't going to move it left or right.
Correct.
You're going to keep it lined up with the window above. The pair of windows
Yeah.
that are on the right-hand side of those three windows we're talking about, you're going to replace that with one window,
Correct.
similar in height to the one to the left of it,
Identical, yep.
and have the option of lining it up with the window that's above it.
We could do that, yes.
See, there we go.
I think it would be great if it was a sketch of what this looked like. But I
Part of-
also think, like the chair had indicated, we can probably give you, okay, these are the windows that would need approval. But I think, I hear some uncertainty in terms of what the final placement's gonna be, because I might be missing it, but I don't see like a sketch of where they're laid out. I
We
kinda
weren't-
understand what you're saying, but I
Yeah,
don't-
we weren't planning on moving them, but yeah, I see what you're saying with that one with the two. I think we were just gonna go like right in the middle of where that was, but we can try to align it with the one that's above it.
Okay. It sounds like you have support for all of this, but we just need some sort of documentation to have on file so that the inspection department and everybody can make sure that you're doing what we approved.
Okay.
So,
And there's one more thing on this
Yeah, yeah.
picture. That door, we would like to remove. That it's Lucy, our neighbor's driveway. I mean, her car blocks it. There's no way that we'd be ever using that anyway, so we'd just like to put siding there.
Will there still be a bump out, or are you going to take out that whole?
No, the bump out would remain.
Leave the bump out.
Okay.
Just a caveat in this one, I'm not a building official in any manner, but I'm guessing that you're real close to your property line there. And I'm guessing that if you were to eliminate a door in that location, in what we'll refer to as that sensitive area along your property line, that no one would ever be able to put one back in that location.
Yeah, you know.
That's fine.
Okay, you're making a decision for people you don't know.
For future.
I mean, it truly is her driveway.
Sure.
If her car is parked there, you couldn't even really.
Sure.
Walk
I
up.
just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, no, we've given a lot of thought.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
One more tiny thing. This building has been constructed over time. The front portion of the building, then an addition on that, then an L on that, which is what we're talking about at the moment, and then a little, we'll call it be nice and call it a bump at the end. The sidings change in exposure having to do with the period of the construction. It would be lovely if you could retain the exposure of the clapboard on the part that you're working on, just helping to continue that
Yes.
story about the building.
And that's another reason going to the wood, then we can start with a, 2-inch reveal and then go to 2.5 and work up
I
to
don't
3.
really think you need to do that. If you just replicated the siding that's there now, that can I say, maybe it's a particular problem of mine, but that 2-inch story is imaginary. It's not a true story, and I just assumed that you didn't do it.
Got it. Yeah, that's almost a 4.25-inch reveal on that part, and the front house is a 3-inch reveal. So we're just gonna do 3-inch to match the older front side of the house.
You wanna
I think
show
the
the
commission
picture?
would
I
prefer
think
to
I have
see
a
the
picture.
exposure match the exposure that's there.
Yes, so what he's saying is don't worry about matching the front of the house. Let's keep the story, the history that we have here, and just replace the clapboards exactly how they are now.
As long as that corner board is still
think-
there,
yes.
the one it's not a corner board anymore, but it divides the addition.
Yeah, I think there is a picture, Isaac, of the two sidings,
Yeah.
just so you can see when they come in together.
Does that kind of show it at the top there?
No, it's on the other side. I don't know if you included it, maybe down further.
I think it's the last photo in the set.
Yep. Yeah. So, the only other thing is,
Yeah, there you
is the roof vented? Is that roof, do you have what's called a ridge vent?
We do.
Yeah, they just replaced the roof, I think,
Okay.
last year maybe, or
All
before
right.
we bought it, but.
Because if that wasn't, then you wouldn't be able to remove that square vent.
Correct.
You know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
So,
can see
yeah,
the front
the
side of
front
the house,
is
the
the one
older
on the right.
side has the 3-inch reveal, and then our back
So
side has
we
the
just
4.
thought you would want us to match the front of the house, but if you don't want us to do that, that's
No.
fine.
No, yeah, no,
Okay.
I mean, I think as Dave pointed out, this is a illustration of the history of the building, of how that addition was put on later than the first, and so it's particular to those of us who like to pay attention, but it still tells the story. So, okay. Is
And,
there
and lastly,
anything
at the end, we just want to replace a couple of fencing in the backyard to match fencing that's already in the yard.
Yep.
I think it's, yeah, right there. So the fencing on the right-hand side is the fencing that's already there that we'd like to replicate on the left picture.
The left-hand side's falling down,
And
and
we've talked to the neighbor, and she wants it the same. And then the neighbor in the back, I've noticed that they have that same fencing on this side of their yard, so they would probably, I'm assuming,
Okay.
like it to match on their side.
Okay,
Fine. Yep.
okay, so,
I think that we've given them a few names of manufacturers and styles that are acceptable. So I think it's a matter of you choosing one that works for you and possibly a discussion with your neighbors so that knowing that they would be happy with it. And then it would really, really help if we had even just these same pictures with pen marking which ones are getting smaller, which ones are getting larger, where are they being lined up relative to the ones above them.
Okay.
Because you've given it all to us verbally, but that's very difficult to then translate for later on. So if we could just have some photographs where you have indicated this window that's now this big is now going to be this big, and it's going to line up like this.
Okay.
I think that that would help significantly.
Yes.
So the question then is, do we want to approve any of this tonight, or do we want to have the whole thing come back next week with the improved and the decisions? And can we even do that?
I think that we go forward tonight with the approval. We've sat here long enough to go through all of this for most everything, and then the choice of the window, some more specifics about which ones are going where, the specifications of the actual windows, so that we can approve and make sure that they match what we would like to see, can all come next week if you can get that together that fast, or at least what you intend to do, and give that to Isaac. So we can request that information. But the rest of it, the fencing, the clapboards, all that stuff we can approve right now. Event removal, that can be done right now. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to? Okay. Okay. Yes.
I'm just still confused. Why would we approve this now if we're bringing it back next week with the windows in it?
We need the specifications of.
We do,
Yes.
right,
Of which windows they want to prove, that they want to use.
okay. And so they'd also probably have the drawings that maybe Margot was talking about, or
Yes.
something that would actually indicate this project, where it's going.
Yes.
Public comment?
Yes, I haven't closed it, so sure, come on up.
I guess, Jeff Kissel, can I come back next Wednesday with windows too?
We've asked for a little bit more information about your historic windows because we know that they're older than theirs. Sorry.
That's all I'm saying. Why don't we just
Because I think.
postpone it, or?
Because we have a full agenda next week, and it would be a lot easier to approve something as administrative approval next week than to bring all this back up again and do another public hearing.
Okay, so the only thing we're going to administrative would be the brand of the windows.
The brand and the drawing to show the locations where they're.
All right, I'm fine.
All right, now I'm going to close the public hearing. And somebody to translate that into a motion.
Somebody.
All right, I'll give that a try. All right, so we are approving, this, we are approving in-kind replacement of the clapboards with the current reveal, the removal of a door and replacement with clapboards. We are approving replacement of the windows with a brand yet to be determined, and pending drawings that clarify the placement and size of any windows that are changing either size or location. The grill patterns would be the same, and there would be half screens.
The vent in the roof.
Or removing a vent in the roof, thank you.
No,
Larry?
and the what, sorry?
I was just
Fencing,
gonna,
yes.
Fencing.
I don't think that you can speak
Yeah,
now that
sorry,
the
now that
public
you're-
hearing has
You're an
been
alternate, so,
closed down.
since you're not voting for this, you're
no, I was just gonna,
done. We can't,
okay.
sorry.
Sorry.
Did I get everything?
Do we get it?
I think so.
Do we get a second?
No, now we need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 'Thank 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 you. ' conservation and enhancement of property values. This is certainly keeping this building up to snuff. And I believe the changes are in relation to the historic and architectural value of the existing structure.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Thank you. It was a long and complicated one, but we got through it. All right, now we're at number 4, which is a work session / public hearing requested by BVB LLC owner for property located at 258 Maplewood Avenue, wherein permission is requested to allow exterior construction to an existing structure, add rear shed dormer, replace 2 rear gable ends with roof decks, rebuild the 2 front primary chimneys, and remove the 2 rear secondary chimneys as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 123 as Lot 3 and lies within the Character District 4L1 and General Residence A and Historic Districts. Who is here to present this?
You want to go down?
And would you like for us to go down for a work session?
Plenty of spots, don't worry.
Thanksgiving. Just a reminder, try not to touch these. They're supposedly not even very necessary because this is really strong. So.
Hello, good evening. Tracy Kozak, Architects, here with the owner and applicant, Brian Van de Linder. Thank you for having us, and thank you for accommodating a work session / public hearing. Happy to bring you through our application and talk about any questions or comments. This is a multifamily house on Maplewood Ave, near to, not quite on the corner, but near to the intersection of Dearborn. And page 2 has existing conditions. So the house was built, the main part of the house was built around 1850, Greek Revival style. There were some 2 L's built behind it shortly thereafter. They show up in the Sanborn maps by 1872. There are 2 bay windows added to the front. We're not doing anything to the front. We're talking about the back. We'd like to add a shed dormer in the center section above those existing decks, and then replace the 2 side L gables with roof decks. Rebuild the chimneys, and you'll see why in a moment when I take you through the drawings. All right. That's, that page. Those are all the houses around it on Dearborn, and also the back of this house faces a common driveway that leads to 2 other houses at the edge of the pond, but it's not a street, it's a right-of-way through his private property. And so the bottom photos are a shot from all 4 directions standing in the middle of that common driveway. The ones on the top of the page are from the public way. And so, let's see. Yeah, the next page you'll see there's one angle from Dearborn. You can see it obliquely, but that's about it. Okay, so that's the 1877 3D map. The house is in yellow on the upper left. To the right is the Advocate survey from the 80s, and the lower left is a Sanborn map from 1887. So that's the story of the early days. So the 2 rear L's, we originally thought they were built more mid-century. They show up on the maps, but the reason we thought that is because the foundations under them are like pristine formed concrete with ties, and it just looks real new. So I think they either rebuilt the foundations or they poured new foundations inside of the old foundations at some point.
Foundations are thick.
Well, actually,
That's what they
the
did.
coolest things about this house, in the main house, on the side facing Maplewood Ave, and we're not touching anything.
Granite, right?
I say this because it's interesting, but he's right, they are about 6 foot thick, cut granite foundations. I have no idea why. It's strange. It's cool.
Could have come
but-
from the mill. There was a mill building there on the other side where Cindy Ann's Cleaners are.
Or, I don't know if there was a different house there before 1850
Yeah,
that
I
was in a
don't
different
know.
location. And,
It's unusual they'd
it's
use something like
very-
that.
Very a great expense. I don't think they would do just for fun back then. Okay.
Well, I'll just, little tidbit for your own information. My own personal house is less than a quarter mile from there, near the end of Northwest Street. It's a similar basement construction, like huge boulders. And then repaired with brick at various places where things had fallen out. But huge boulders and then sometimes faced with modern day concrete. But it is that big. So,
Yeah,
it
in my
might have been typical of that area.
My house is the same thing. It was done
Yeah.
about 70 years ago.
Done it.
Somebody put a, one-sided form on the inside of my basement and poured concrete in it,
Yeah.
which is great. I am so glad they did that. The stone, it doesn't leak. A little bit.
Okay, so this is the real reason this all started in the attic. The bricks are powder. Massive leaking that's been going on for quite a while, so unfortunately there's been a bit of damage to the roof structure around the chimneys. The further away you get, the better it is. You can see over the years they've tried all sorts of ways to fix the leaking with parging and stucco and repointing, and but the water is coming from, I think, it's coming from all over, and it just seeps into the bricks, and it's beyond repair underneath the roof. Above the roof, it's also bad, not quite this bad, but it's not great. So we'd like to rebuild them with good bricks. And up above the roof line, we would propose to use a sliced brick to keep the weight down. But we would rebuild the Bishop's caps with full bricks, just to the same dimensions and profiles that they're there.
You've got sliced bricks, but what is holding, what's behind
Oh, with
that?
with a structural wood support behind it. Yeah, just so it's,
You're proposing to tear all the chimneys out of the building?
they would stay below the attic because there are some nice fireplaces down there.
Yeah.
But it's just the attic level that needs to go.
Yeah, so right now we have water dumping into my units down below. And to fix the middle, where it's all powder, seems unrealistic. So we proposed that we would build a faux structure on the top that architecturally looks as it sits today, but we would eliminate the chimney just through the attic space. We retain everything below the current attic space.
So you have a chimney up to the ceiling, up to the floor of the attic.
Correct.
Yep.
And then a wooden structure that goes up to the roof and through the roof, and then you'd face the wooden structure above the roof line? Or are you talking about having a completely empty section?
Empty section.
Empty
Yeah, so the roof, second to the problem of the chimneys is the problem of the roof that needs full replacement based on the condition and the rot from maintenance. I've only owned the property for a few months now. But after thorough inspection and consideration, we know we are going to have to substantially remove all of the roof to fix it.
Not rude. We're not applying to remove the entire roof.
Yes, but to repair the rot that is there
All of it
from
needs
around the
repair, but we're
chimneys.
going to be doing it from the underside, inside. The only portion of the roof we're actually removing is the back in between the two gables. The front will stay. We're going to sister the joists and beams from within.
Have you considered, instead of the faux structure, if that whole attic section of the chimney and above the roof needs replaced, just replace it brick for brick? Because you said you have fireplaces on the first and second floors, and that would allow the possibility for somebody to make those fireplaces operable in the future, which would be a huge enhancement for the value of your property going forward.
it's an opening in the roof that's dumping water into my tenants' units. I mean, that's
All he cares about.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, like, you fix that in the process of fixing the chimney.
The lower chimneys would stay intact. There's always future, my responsibility, there's always future to reestablish those at a time.
He does have a point.
Looking at this today, in the condition, you're welcome to come to the attic with me. And we
No,
can
I'm just-
poke,
I'm
we
just
can poke
asking,
at it,
I'm
but
just-
it's pretty
I
bad.
don't
want to see it.
No, I think he's not, I think he's not suggesting that you keep it,
Yeah.
but just rebuild an actual chimney. So
Yeah.
it's not a faux chimney, but like actually rebuild it so that it's an actual brick chimney.
Maybe we can work through the larger plan here, and maybe it'll become more clear what we think might be the
I bet he
highest,
wants
best
floor
use.
space.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
we can keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Next. All right, so, yes, this is the back, and the dashed lines show the area between the gables. That back slanty part of the roof is going to be removed because that's where the dormer goes. Okay. Those are just the sides showing the L's on the back with the gables where the roof would come off to be replaced with the roof decks. Railing. And from above, same thing. And proposed, so the back of the buildings at the bottom of the page, that would be a shed dormer across the back with a shallower slope as it goes over the porches that are down below.
So are these chimneys being removed right down to the basement? No,
Well, so
on the
they're
L's.
actually
In the L's.
Yeah, in the L's, those are going away completely to the basement.
Okay.
These are
Going away
later.
completely.
Those are later additions that were put in for furnaces. They're small, those little guys like that. Okay, this is the proposed back. Everything below the eave line is existing to remain, no changes. Above the eave line, the center part of the roof is where the shed dormer is, over the stairs, over the balconies in the center, and then they're flanked to the right and left with a small porch roof deck with a railing. And from the sides, how they would look.
I think you were right, David. They're using the third floor.
And profile details, the wood siding would be to match the existing. We are proposing a composite trim, a painted AZAC. The railings are painted black metal. There is an existing white picket railing on the back porch where the stairs are. We'd like to replace those with the black metal to match what's going up above. Aluminum clad Marvin Ultimate windows and their patio doors to match. That's it in its context. That's the view. That view is the only view you can see from a public way. That's from Dearborn Street. And a little bit more detail on there.
Who would the dormer
Eyebrows.
roof be? Just asphalt? What are you doing with the dormer roof?
So the sloped part, the main sloped part of it would be a standing seam metal, and there's a flat part right in front over the stairs that go to the ground. That would be a membrane roof because it's flat. There are gutters and downspouts. In the future, we would come back for the condensers that are shown at the ground, but we haven't sized them exactly, so that's just a FYI placeholder for what's coming next.
Are the stairs the primary entrance for units, given that the parking lot's on the backside, or?
They're secondary, means
I'm sorry,
egress.
so the second floor units, I misspoke, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, currently there are second means of egress. The building is not sprinklered. It's there. love to see it go away at some point, but right now we're not proposing to touch it.
So there's a common area through the
Yeah.
main that circles through staircase that would be the access to the third
Oh,
floor.
okay, got it.
And then these
Okay.
are just the secondary.
Secondary,
areas.
that's what,
It's
yeah.
a typical
It was
center
secondary or
hall,
primary,
center
that's what I was-
stair building, and then there's a unit on either side at each floor. And the attic is storage at the moment, but there is a possibility to make that additional living space in the future.
Yeah, you have doors up there. So, does your staircase inside go all the way up to the attic?
It
Third
does.
floor?
Yeah. Yeah, we would be using that same pathway. The attic stairs would have to be expanded just for,
Oh, God.
for
yeah.
access, but.
Is it one set of stairs or is it two
It's-
sets?
It's one, and, they stack,
They
which is
stack.
great. The attic stairs are, a lot narrower and steeper, and they would probably be rebuilt, but in the same place, a little less steep. Yeah.
Except for they take up 3 times more room than the ones that are there now.
Not quite, but yeah, it's bigger.
Take up a lot of room, new stairs.
So, up until about 5 or 6 years ago, a friend of mine lived in one of these
Okay.
apartments, and she lived there for almost 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm, just based on her descriptions, I think I understand why you're doing what you're doing, both from a repair point of view and an improvement point of view with regard to the size and layout of these units. And Tracy, as always, eminently practical, but I have to say not the most gracious solution to the problem. So I'm not exactly, I mean, that was not trying to either say yes or no, or I don't think I have a solution for you with regard to the graciousness part. But I just had to say, it's eminently practical, not particularly gracious.
I will say there is an amazing view of the pond from the back, which is why the corners are roof decks.
I'm sure.
I mean, to me, it looks like the back of a 4-unit apartment building. I'm not sure how gracious works into all of this, considering the fact that the main view of the building is definitely the front from Maplewood Avenue.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that this is, that you have done your diligence and you've gotten your staircases in and they're covered, which is a great thing rather than people just having stairs on the outside of the building.
It's already like that.
That's all existing.
We're not
Well, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. So, I mean, it just looks logical. What you've done looks logical.
There, I should point out the photo of the building that's to the right of it. I think it's on the second page.
We can roll back to
Yeah.
a picture of it too.
The second page.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit like Tenement City. Yeah, to the right, behind those 2 trees. It's kind of that triple decker
It's rough.
look. It's kind of what we have to work with.
And there's
Yeah.
there's an egress to that other building in that alley too.
You really got slammed with the gas meters, didn't you?
I would love to take the gas meters out, but that's for a different meeting.
Well, if you ever, I'm just, if you ever, I don't know what you call it, that wall that's in there where the exterior staircase is, if you ever bring that out, to the end and make that all interior space, you are going to have immense and amazing units there too. I mean, you're gonna really-
Yeah, but I don't think you'll ever get there because your parking is in the back. So that would require everybody to walk around and use the front door, and there's no
okay.
parking in the front.
Okay.
We
So-
can figure something out. That's
No,
phase
I'm just
2.
complimenting you on your building. I'm just.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
I like your building.
It's a really cool building. The reason we bought the building, I've lived in probably 10 buildings like this throughout, New England and Portland. So, the units have character. We want to retain the character. We want to improve the property for the current residents, but we also want to have the highest and best use of the space in the building. When you look at it from the public way, the changes that we propose are not going to be necessarily apparent. When anybody who's in the back is trespassing anyway, This is, as you point out, the most practical solution we found for the space and for the use of the property. And we're adding a unit to the housing supply.
Right, Martin?
Yeah, that's the first thing that struck me, if you look at H 2.0, is that there's this formality and this delicateness, and scale is beautiful, and then your addition is boxy and heavy, and I'm just wondering if we couldn't find a way to take some of that charm that was there and bring it to the proposed solution. It is the back of the building, so I wouldn't make a stand on this, but I know you're good at what you do, so I'm challenging you. I think you could bring some of that charm to the back of the building.
I did want to ask if you had played around with keeping any of the gable form to the back, because I think that's really, obviously a historic aspect of this building is these two gable wings that come off the back.
We had looked at an early scheme with a gable in the middle.
Yeah.
We could certainly go back
I
to
mean,
that.
once we get,
Rather shallow gable.
yeah,
It's pretty.
if you look at the pitch there, it's really kind of tough. I'm honestly, just stop the improvement because there's
I
not going to
wouldn't
be a
think
return.
adding
to do it.
I wouldn't think about adding a third gable. I was just wondering about, could you do what you're trying to do, add the shed roof to connect the two, or somehow sort of retain those
Make that back shape that
two,
way.
Keep the
instead of
gables
flat.
where they are and do,
do something in the middle.
Just put a shed in between the gables.
It's low, so that elevation of those gables is like 4 feet, 5 feet.
we could step.
I see.
That,
So-
we already do.
so
So the
there's-
proposed front wall of that shed dormer is stepped back from the face of the gables already. So if we kept the gables and did a recessed balcony behind that gable wall,
The only thing you'd lose would be your deck, right? Your two decks.
you'd still have your porches, but the.
They'd be hidden. The
probably-
porches would be behind gables.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got
We
you.
could look at doing that to keep that gable language.
It's just, just a thought of like, could you still have an echo or an outline of
I will say,
gables somehow?
one of the nice details on this house is the front door pediment, which
Yeah.
is a super low pediment. And proportionally, you could get that same shape on the
That's Greek
shed between the two.
Greek revival.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if there's any way with a major rehab like this, is there any way you could examine removing the siding from the two box bays on the front of the house?
To see if there's something underneath.
And see if there's something underneath it. The way that the clapboards are sitting on those two box bays, especially between the first and second story windows, it just doesn't look right. It looks like, it just, I'm thinking it was done, is it vinyl siding or?
No, it's
Wood.
all wood.
No,
All
it's
wood.
wood siding.
It's all wood.
You don't think so? I
know there's air moving through there.
No, you're looking at a $100,000 job here plus.
It's looking like
I'm just
more
saying,
wood.
pop a couple
suggestions. I mean, we went for practical and efficient.
So like maybe there's some paneling behind there
Right,
or
that's
something.
what I'm thinking with that
I mean,
style of
we
building.
think they were probably added at
Yeah, later on.
early 20th century. Yes,
Behind there,
Rich.
what does behind there mean, I guess? Oh, in that area between the two windows?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're
It's
saying.
got brick foundations underneath it. Pretty early.
I kind of think the bays were added later.
They must have been, because they're not in the.
They do have
Single
granite
or not.
foundations though.
Look at the second
The
story windows, they're
foundation's
tiny.
consistent, if I blow that up.
This-
Yeah, it's all granite.
It's all granite
This is
the whole
being
way,
built out
so-
as a Greek Revival building, but
There was
it
something there, but
really
I didn't
isn't.
know
You've never seen a Greek Revival building with chimneys that large. These people that built this house were heating with wood in their fireplaces.
Yeah.
These aren't stoves and coal.
So it's an older house.
It's a much older house.
There's Greek, well, So the Greek revivals
Is when it was
late 1800s.
rehabilitated.
This is dated at 1850.
Well, that's
I don't
not
know.
by an architectural historian.
No, that's by the advocates.
Yeah.
But also, the Greek revivals usually had their entrance on the gable, not on the long
It
side.
is, yes, the doorway is clearly a revival doorway of sort with this very low pitch. And the bays certainly make it seem like it's from another time, but the chimneys are clearly, to me, a dead ringer for 1795 or something like that. The addition on the back, well, you probably aren't worried too much about the condition of the L buildings. They've been modified. If you look at the roof lines of them from the back, you can see that the pitches of the roofs do not complete themselves because it's like it's begging for a vertical to come up further over. I assume that they carved the insides of those L's away to make the width that was required to get the staircase to go from landing stairs to landing, so you could get all the way up in one motion. So things in terms of measurements are pretty tight on the back as far as moving things around much. I do appreciate the comment about the elegance, but it's a step up from any tenement that I ever lived in. And I, other than the fact that I'm still hanging on the chimneys, which are a mystery to me, the whole mystery part of this, which makes me really concerned. But I think you've done an exceptional job of providing more space for your owner and resolving some of the irregularities that are built into this thing. Getting those two small porches really, to me, seems like a real score. And cleaning up the back walls around the staircase, and the little bit of unifying that you're suggesting you're going to do there, I think goes a long way. But I'm still hanging on the chimneys, in case anyone wants to know.
Rich.
Thank you. I think you've done your homework. I think you understand the historic district, but this is the back of the house. I appreciate, as a counselor, that we're adding another housing unit to the city. I'm worried about imposing costs on you and eliminating that housing unit. So I don't want to do that, as the cost-benefit analysis that I'm always doing on each application. This all being in the back of the house, I think you've done your due diligence. You know what I mean? You're improving the property, and the modern stuff is on the back. It will be seen. So I don't see any issue with what's been presented.
Thank you.
Across the street, on Maplewood Avenue, there's a 4-unit apartment building. I think it's got a bow chimney on it.
It's got squared caps. Squared caps, I think, if it's the blue one. There's a metal, ugly square cap
On it. Yeah. I could approve this if these 2 chimneys were going to be replicated exactly, including the bishop's caps, and, using sawn bricks, or, not just using little Z bricks on, stuck on plywood. So if they were going to be replicated exactly, I certainly wouldn't miss the 2 chimneys in the back, because they don't have any relevance to what you're doing at all.
If they don't touch them, they're not going to be there through the next windstorm.
Yeah, well, they might last. I
don't know.
So would you be okay with taking a full brick, cutting it in half, and attaching it? Or, is a 1.5 inch thick brick?
That's not my, forte. I've never,
Probably not.
I've never done it. I've seen a number of projects that we have approved, and they're all still standing and looking good. I don't know what the problem with them is. You're not touching the fireplaces on the inside, which has nothing to do with us. But I'm happy that you're not touching the fireplaces, because we have seen a 3-story brick building on Court Street where everything is gone inside. Everything. They just took everything out of that building. You know what I'm talking about, next to the old firehouse. They put steel beams in there.
I can give you solace that the below that roof line is not going anywhere. I don't know, you can't see it from the scale of this. It's massive. I mean,
Yeah, it gets bigger.
It would cost, just from an outside view, the expense to try to even remove something like that. It wouldn't. I mean, I just don't see how it would even be.
And it's messy.
Feasible. Yeah, well, it's messy right now. When you have water coming through
Yeah,
whole
that's
flues
messy.
with soot and the such. But freeing up that floor space is crucial to the success of the addition of the unit. We've looked at it. The engineer has been on site, and he thought that we could support the new structure with the cut brick, applied masonry style to the outside, rebuilding the bishop's caps. That we could also support that through the roof structure and working from under on the front section. It's going to be retained. So we're very excited to add to the neighborhood. I think that Tracy's done a great job in working through multiple, as you said, we've thought about this. We went through multiple iterations of the design. This one presented, we believe, is the best path forward for our project.
We got the windows and all that stuff.
So we do,
appreciate you keeping the
yeah.
chimneys to look-
The notations call for aluminum clad wood windows, but it didn't list a manufacturer. We would like to clarify that as Marvin Ultimate clad. And the color would be the stone white. The patio doors on the porches would match and be the same manufacturer style, color, everything. We didn't talk about screens, so.
The stair rails.
Yeah.
And the stairs and the decking and all that stuff you haven't.
The trim would be AZEK. The roofing is standing metal seam black. And wood siding is wood, brick to match existing.
And this is
gutters, aluminum clad K-style gutters,
Right.
in white.
And you do have all this listed.
Yeah.
And that's just for the new construction part.
Right. That's right.
Well, do we feel as though, does anybody have any other questions? Do we feel as though we're ready to move this directly into a public hearing? Or do we need more information?
The only thing I note is you've specified landscape plants to hide the heat pumps, which you're not sure where you're gonna put yet. We do recommend more permanent screening because plants die.
Good to know. Okay. I do want to, there's the 4 that will be in the future down below. So a fence would be better than a.
Or a lattice screening, some sort,
Whatever.
something like that.
Okay.
Isaac has a whole list of
Examples.
acceptable forms.
Got it. Okay.
She knows she's done it.
Yeah, it's limited space. That
Sure.
just from the parking lot comes right up to the back there. And the best opportunity to obscure those is where we placed them. So although I fully respect the goal there, it's the rear of the building with no abutter directly facing it. So we'll try to be as creative as possible, but it's a tough one to handle. And I can, right now the building's running 4 boilers with that were converted from steam to forced hot water, and I really need to get them out of there.
I don't have a problem with you replacing them. Go for it. But
Okay.
But I just need a place to put them to be able to replace
When
them.
we come back for that,
Yeah,
we'll take a
talk
real
about
close look at that.
Okay. The screens themselves might, they needn't, they don't have to be a wall, I've built them so that you can actually pick them up and set them aside so somebody can do the maintenance, they're thin.
Yeah, maybe maybe we can hang it right on the unit.
Well, no, you can't do that, but.
Be creative.
Well, maybe you can.
And back to those chimneys, would you be looking at building the brick back up or doing the faux chimney?
So the contractor who was my roofer, he has talked to the mason about the plan, and the plan would be a cement board of some exterior quality that we could adhere the cut brick to. So there would be a structure built in the same dimension as the chimney. You'd have cut brick, masonry applied around. Then when you get to the top, you would have some sort of, some sort of cap that wasn't visible. And then from there, they would build the bishop cap in full brick on the top.
And it would end at the roof, so it'd be nothing in the attic.
Nothing,
There'd be nothing in the attic.
except for
From the
some
floor.
sort of beam or something that would be supported.
Okay. Any other questions? I mean, do we want to go back up and have a public hearing for it?
I have to close
I do. I have to close the work session part of it.
Motion to close the work session.
So we move up to, go back up and be formal.
Assuming
we don't have
your
bees.
skills are high enough, this house is really asymmetric. I did see places where you're struggling with lines, not being square and parallel, and
Yeah.
those two L's are
Those two
different.
L's,
The
man.
two L's are different.
What are you gonna do?
What a lot of work. Field expedient work.
Yeah.
Clever. Good for you.
Could cantilever one out a little bit to match the other one. Cantilever days.
Oh, Richard. Okay. All right, we'll do this. So now we're moving on to public hearing part of this. We just ask you to very briefly, go over this all again so that we know, and then we'll move forward.
Okay, great. Tracy Kozak, Architects, here on behalf of the applicant, Brian Vandelinder. We are proposing to, where to begin? We would like to build a shed dormer addition on the back, and in between the two L's, and also to remove the two back chimneys at the L's, and to replace the gables on the two rear L's with roof deck porches, and to rebuild the two front chimneys above the roof line with sawn brick and full brick recreated bishop caps to match exactly the proportions and profiles of what is there now. The materials are as listed in the application. The siding is wood clapboard to match existing. Trim is composite AZEK painted white to match everything else. Aluminum K-profile gutters and downspouts to match the existing gutters and downspouts on the front. Railings are metal painted black on the new roof porches, and on the existing porch railing on the back and the stair railing, we would replace those with metal railings to match what we're proposing at the top. Windows are aluminum clad wood Marvin Ultimate, and the porch doors are also the same series to match. The color is stone white. The roof of the primary shed dormer is a black standing seam metal. The smaller portion of flat roof over the front middle section of the dormer is a membrane roof.
Okay. Anything else? Were there any other
Half
stipulations? I mean, the half screens?
We can do half screens. So there are the 4 double hung windows facing the back, which we will do half screens. The 2 pairs of windows on the sides, however, we are showing as casements. So those would require full screens, but those are on the inside, so you wouldn't see them.
So at some point, you'll have to give us the specifications and the dimensions and everything for the windows that you're wanting to do, just so that we have that on file. And give it
We
to
will
Isaac
submit
for
that for the
administrative
record.
approval.
Do you anticipate any modifications or changes to the front of the building? The Maplewood Avenue side of the building, the 2 gable ends of the old house?
There are no exterior changes at all to the original house on the sides or front?
Just, part of that is just the changing the siding, the trim. In the process of reconstructing the roof, you said you were going to do that from the interior, and so it's not going to have any effects outside at all.
Are you planning to replace the shingles on the front?
Yes, we do need to replace the shingles on the front. We would match
Asphalt. That was not listed in the application, but it's a replacement of, in kind, of the asphalt shingles on the front.
Any other questions, comments? All right, I'll open this to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak to, for, or against this application? No one on Zoom? All right, I will close this public hearing and like a motion to move forward.
I'll move to present, to approve as presented. I believe it, let's see, conservation enhancement of property values, and it's compatible with design of surrounding properties.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? Thank you for the thorough discussion here. I'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll be opposed. I'm not convinced about the chimneys.
Understood. Chair votes aye. Thank you. All right. Our last public hearing.
Go ahead.
Our last public hearing of the night is number 5, the petition of Ralph J. Montgomery, Revocable Trust of 2020, owner, for property located at 466 Marcy Street, wherein permission is requested to allow new construction to an existing structure, replace existing front staircase with new wood and granite staircase, as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 101 as Lot 75 and lies within the general residence B and historic districts. Hi.
Good evening, Commission. My name is John Montgomery. I'm the owner and applicant for this project. I submitted some additional materials, and I do have a hard copy of these. It's the original design that is included, but I added more context about the street views and stuff like that. Should I
Sure.
distribute those to you?
Sure. Thank you.
This is to replace the existing entrance stairway.
Thank you.
You'll have to wait, sorry, you'll have to wait till you get there so you can speak into the microphone so everybody at home can hear you. Thank you.
It's foggy in the morning.
I can deal with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, the contents of this application shows the existing environment, the replacement design, and then the material specifications. So on the page 2, it shows where the house is located at the south end of Marcy Street. It's on the west side of the street, so across the street is the Sanders property with the little blue house on it. And then the third page in shows the property. It's the White House there on the left. This is Marcy Street looking north. And there's 3 New Englanders right there, side by side, all built around 1900, between 1900 and 1905. 3 cute little places. And then this is Marcy Street looking south. So again, it's the White House. You get a little bit closer picture of the staircase. The next page shows the staircase in the house next door. Everyone always looks at the house next door to set their plans and ambitions, so I'm doing the same. Actually, I own the house next door, so this was done some time ago. It does have, and I'll state this right up front, just listening to you tonight, I've learned a lot about historic preservation. So this is a tough environment. It's the staircase, the house is right on the street. When the sander goes by, it gets sanded, it gets salted, it gets plowed. It's a very, I've been living here for 7 years, and I'm amazed at how quickly the staircase has deteriorated. So my application is for more, use of more modern, robust materials so they don't have to do this every 10 years. And that's, so the page that shows 466 Marcy with the little entrance door there, so this is the existing staircase. It's 5 wooden steps set on a concrete base. As you can see, the concrete base is beginning to deteriorate. The stair treads are fraying, they're cracking. The right side of the stringer is falling off of the concrete base. So it really, it's a, you know, it needs something, and I want to keep the house looking good and functioning properly. So that's why I want to do it. And then the next page shows some more pictures of the staircase and the house. The existing staircase comes out from the foundation wall 5 feet 8 inches. This is important because the house, there's close proximity to the street here. So I'll, you know, just looking ahead, the replacement staircase comes out a few inches further, 6 foot 3 inches, but it is a staircase that I think meets building codes. So it comes out a few inches further. For a reference point, the house next door that I showed, the yellow house, 478, that staircase comes out just under 8 feet toward the street. So the houses on both sides come out further. Mine is a little bit more set back.
The plow will hit them before they hit you, huh?
So now we're in the design pages, and this just shows the conceptual view of the replaced staircase from the front and the 2 sides. The next slide in shows the different sub-elements of the design. There's 5 sub-elements, and the next 5 pages blow up each of these. So you don't have to get your magnifying glass out to read what's going on here. But, so let's go to the next one, which shows the cross-section detail. Again, I already mentioned this is coming out 6 foot 3 inches and 3/4 from the foundation, a little bit further than the existing one. It's sets on 2 granite slabs, and then there's the staircase. It does specify an AZEK slate gray decking and a vinyl integrated railing system. And that, again, I'm hoping that you'll consider this because it's a very tough environment. And then the remaining pages just show the additional details of the trim plan, the framing plan, the railing plan, and the final one is the decking plan. And then the remaining pages has additional information, manufacturer information about the railing system and the decking. So that's the proposal. Like I said, what I'm proposing to do, why I'm proposing to do it. And, you know, I hope you'll consider that something needs to be done with this staircase, and I hope that you might consider granting my application. Thank you.
This is a very thorough application, so thank you very much. Any comments? Yeah.
So I think this is all wonderful. I think it's great where you're going, and I can absolutely support the decking and the risers being more modern materials. I just have a question about the railing system.
Okay.
When it says vinyl, vinyl comes in lots of different shapes, feelings, shine, and so on and so forth. I made the mistake of allowing somebody to talk me into putting vinyl on my own house on the railing system, and when you touch it, it's hollow. It makes a knocking sound. It sounds extremely plastic, and I have to tell you, well, it technically wears well. I mean, it's not falling apart.
Right.
It does not look great, and
Yeah.
I've had it maybe 5 or 6 years. So my question is, have you looked at a hardier material, a composite material, something that is not plastic?
I will ask my builder. I'm working with Diamond Hill Builders in Exeter. I'll ask them to consider that. And I know the yellow house, 478 Marcy, is not using a vinyl rail system. And it's, you know, it's elevated a bit, so it's easy to replace if it does need to be replaced. So I think that's a good consideration. I appreciate you mentioning that, because I don't want something I'm going to, you know, not like looking at or touching. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I regret it.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
John?
I would just like to add, there's I think it might even be AZAC brand or something, but it's metal on the inside. You know, it has square tubing inside, and then it's a fiberglass and it's a quarter of an inch thick fiberglass. It's similar to the Fibrex that they use on the Anderson and other brands, and man, those things, I mean, you know, if a car struck them, I mean, they're really tough. My only question, have you run this past any code officials in Portsmouth?
I have not.
No. My only concern is because you are rebuilding these, that you would have to go, as far as the code goes, the rails are supposed to go down to the bottom step, which is the granite. The two granite steps should be covered by the railings, and that's trouble.
That's a great observation, and that is a deliberate design feature. Primarily because, you know, there's a lot of bikers and trucks and everything else coming right through there.
Yeah.
The proximity to the street, I don't, if you can really get a perspective from one of the early photos. I mean, it's, you know, it's narrow there, and when cars park on
Why
that
not?
side,
I
it's,
used to live there.
okay,
Next door.
okay.
But the way it is now, you're covered because it's grandfathered. It's
Yeah.
been there for a number of years or whatever, sitting on the concrete slabs. But now that you're tearing that all out,
I see.
it's, you know, I think your plan is very good, and I'm hoping that you get, you know, a little mercy because of
Okay.
unusual
Okay,
circumstances.
so you're just warning me that I might need an exception
I'm
or
warning
something.
you a little bit.
Got it.
But otherwise, I think it's a good plan.
Yeah. Isaac, can you help me navigate that, if I need to do something next?
Sure, yes. So we might just want to run this by Shanti Wolf, our Paul Garand, either or in the inspections department, just make sure they're happy with it.
Yeah.
If they're good with that and we're good with the design, then
Yeah.
I think we have a winner, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain why we did it that way. It is, you know, I didn't want to grab a bicycle or a truck, you know, with something sticking out the side to grab and rip the whole thing out. It just,
Well, the whole problem with something that we're also looking at, if somebody raises their house a foot because of the floodwaters over on the other side of the street,
right.
then they need another step. And there they are, out in the street. Anyways,
I would
Martin.
just, I would just make sure that the granite, you have a split face, I would just make sure the granite is the proper, like, age textured,
okay,
and not too pristine.
Okay.
That'll throw it all off. Why
Okay.
wasn't this an admin approval?
It would actually, we talked about it, we were going back and forth and decided because there is a design component here that, and there was likely to have some discussion that we moved it to an actual.
Came before us once before, solid granite, yep.
That's correct.
And I think this fits so much better in the neighborhood because everyone has, you know, wood with a little bit of combination, so I agree 100%.
I appreciate your suggestions
Yeah.
on that. I've tried to listen to that, yeah.
Anything else? What's that?
Anyone in the public?
Yeah. Public, anybody? All right, no one online? Great, all right. I will close the public hearing and wait for a motion.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve as presented. I believe it preserves the integrity of the district and is consistent with special divided characters surrounding properties.
Seconded?
All right, any further discussion? Obviously, if you decide to change the material, anything of the railings, just come back to us. That can definitely be admin approval. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I vote aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen.
All right. Do we, anybody need a quick 5-minute break before we have one
Yeah.
last?
I do.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have, all right, 5-minute break. We just have one more
I want to get real
work
fussy, real
session
person.
after this.
prevent.
Because Rich has yours.
All right, we're back. For a quick break, we have one more work session. Oops, I forgot to bring the.
Wait a minute.
All right, what's going on?
Give me.
Okay.
All right, this is our one
Thank
final
you,
work
Margot.
session.
Get rid of that.
Session requested by Sankuntala LLC, owner for property located at 235 Marcy Street. Grant permission is requested to allow exterior renovations to an existing structure, replace roofing and siding, restore and reinstall windows, repair or replace trim and casings, install wood corner boards, install copper gutter system, and remove the one-story rear shed. And new construction to an existing structure, add two-story rear garage addition, as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 12 and lies within the general residence B and historic districts.
Nice reading. I know. I hate the long.
Good evening, Carla Goodnight from CJ Architects. I am representing the owners, and we've heard a lot about this house. A lot of people are excited to get it back in shape. We are going before the BOA, so we have an application pending with them because it's a non-conforming lot and because we do have this one slight side yard encroachment, which is an improvement over the existing condition that's there now. So that will be coming up on the agenda. And if you look at page 1, or the cover page, as it is also known as, we have photographs of the existing building. We also have, if you look at the second photo, this little attached shed on the back of unknown age is sitting on the ground. Bricks are just stacked around it. It has no real foundation. It has no frost protection. So we are proposing to take that down. As far as the house goes, we will refurbish the trim on the front and the surround on the front door and, anything that is still holding up there. And on the back, on the rear side, we'll recreate the trim and casing on the front that's already on the gable and so forth. Any original windows that are found will be restored and reinstalled. I have to get, this is currently a rental, so we need to go out there and inventory and take a close look at what is happening, and we'll let you know what is, if anything is still there. New wood clapboard siding. We'll use actual wood. I will get you the species.
And you're going to use wood clapboards?
We are going to use wood clapboards, yes. Yes, we are. Yes.
Stuff's not so bad. It lasts.
We are going to do, it doesn't. We are going to do K-style gutters and downspouts, not copper. I'm not sure where that copper came from. It may have been, I'm not sure. But I think on this building, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they probably would have had maybe wood gutters or something back in the day.
Yep.
So, we'll do the white aluminum, and that'll look more like wood. Okay.
Although, when they had those wood gutters, they probably also had returns.
Yes.
So how do you handle that?
With the casing in the front, we'll bring that casing a little along. Does that work for you?
Me,
All right, we'll do a detail.
that's the paper.
All right. We've done that before. I had somebody, a contractor, suggest that to me years ago, and I thought it was a terrible idea, but it looks fantastic when it was done, so it won me over. New metal-clad windows, probably, most likely Marvin's at this point. And then moving on to 1.0, you're all familiar with the streetscape. We'll be It probably will look very similar to many of the surrounding buildings on the street. I'm sure they were all built at the same time, or similar times. If you look at 2.0, we have some close-ups of the foundation conditions. The surround on the front door is in very nice shape. It's almost too nice. I'm not sure how much of any of it's existing, but it's all staying, so. I mean, how much is original, if any, but it's all staying.
Yeah, it
And
looks a
casing
bit
on the
older
windows.
than your average New Englander, that's
It
for
does,
sure.
doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
there's, the casing on the windows will stay, be replicated. And we're not proposing changing any of the patterns, or any of the arrangement of windows on the historic house, except I think on the one side that faces the neighbor, we need to move something to put a new stair up. If you go to 3.0, you can see the existing and proposed. On the northwest view, we are hoping to slide those windows more to the center in order to be able to put a stair in that corner. The front stays the same, the right side stays the same. We'd like to put a dormer on to.
Which windows are you sliding?
Existing.
dormer windows?
No, if you look at existing northwest back left corner.
Oh, I see.
Right, and then those two windows are just moving a little more toward the front, hopefully. And existing southwest, we would like to propose a new dormer on that one side, on the sunny side. In the backyard, we've kept the addition, one-car garage addition, subordinate to the building, keeping the roof line lower. And then we just extended the roof line down to sort of capture a little mudroom area, a place to enter the home from the side yard. And then the proposed northeast view on 3.1. And then on 4.0, we have some base, straight elevations giving you the potential addition on the back. You can see it in relation. You can see the dormer. Then when you get to 4.1, you'll notice that we are proposing filling out the trim on the east elevation to complement the front of the building. And then 5.0, the site plan is kind of interesting because you'll notice that we are moving this new addition away from the adjacent property line, but as is not uncommon, there are two other buildings and a third structure that are actually on our property line, on neighboring lots, so it's lots of togetherness there on Marcy Street.
Just the way it was.
Right. So, that is what we are proposing. We will, if we need to visit with the BOA, and then we need to come back here and work with all of you on the details, and, we'll bring back a full.
To figure out the mass of the new addition. And some of them, it looks nice, and then some of them, it looks overwhelming. The footprint makes it look, small as an addition, but then you look at 4.1.
Right, yeah, that's the two-story side that abuts it's kind of one of the least visible sides from the street. And then that's why we chose to kind of shed down to almost a 1.5 story where it comes around the corner. You can see it from Marcy Street there. So.
Still secondary.
Just to confirm, on 4.0, on the west elevation?
Yes.
On the right side, you would be able to see that addition, right? Just a
Yes,
little bit? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
It's visible on, and to your point, it is not shown on elevation number 1. But it is on the, 3.1 and
3.0, you can kind of.
3.0 is what you will see. Right.
Can I ask a question why you chose that design for the dormer? let's see, it's not a, it's a pediment.
It's like a.
It's a complete pediment, but it dies on the roof. It's not a broken, well, it is a broken
It's like a
pediment.
cornice return, but not.
It's a cornice return.
Right.
Why?
It's, yeah.
Why is that returning
looks
quite
awkward.
so much? Yes.
Unless you filled in the top triangle with some kind of, elaborate white trim up there, which wouldn't make any sense.
No, I think it might want to be more, maybe that should be like more of a plain flat, just with a little return and not come all the way around.
Yeah.
I think that would be more sort of early modeling.
Sure.
Needs to come out.
I've sketched things like that myself, and there's a special place in hell for people who put that extra piece of pediment in there, because it doesn't help anything.
Well, we'll scratch that so we're not spend less time in hell.
Yeah.
There we
don't
go.
want that.
They'll spend no time there, but
I think,
less.
I had some of the same reactions that, about the addition, whether it was or wasn't subordinate. It's a little bit hard to tell. On 4.1, I think you can see the two returns that you have on the addition work better, and I think if the dormer has the same, it'll look better. I personally shudder at changing that wonderful front profile roof line of a New Englander by putting a shed dormer in. I know why people do it. I know it's eminently practical. And I have walked around quite a bit, and you have to sort of be standing on Marcy Street in order to see it. I wish it were back a little bit further, just because
Just
it's
set
such
back
a
a little
wonderfully
more from the front.
classic front.
Okay.
But I know you've got all the windows lined up, and it's going to
There are
change
values
that.
to that, too. It's always a difficult question as to how far back you push the thing
Yeah.
to make it not seem like it's jutting onto the street. I think the honesty of having a full fenestration on it that matches that part below is
Better.
more valuable. That's what I think.
I like that, yeah.
Okay. We chose it because it seems like there's some similar things going on around
there-
here.
there are lots
So
of
there
them.
will
There's
just,
a
it'll
place.
just add to the,
Well, and it's like somebody else said, it's like all your windows are in perfect alignment. I think, I know somebody said about whether the addition is subordinate. I think what throws that off a little bit is page 3.1, that southeast view, because you're looking at it, and just because you're looking at it, that's in the foreground, the rest of the building's in the rear
Right.
view. And I think what puts it in perspective, and nicely so, is your next frame,
Right.
4.0. It shows that your addition is clearly subordinate to the original structure. I think it's awesome. I mean, I totally love it.
thank you. And I'm hoping that on, 3.1 at that point, it's fairly obstructed from that one area where we are going to get the full two-story.
Well,
I
I'm just
can
saying, I
also-
think it's I think it's not even the structure. I think it's just the computer-generated image, the way the angle
Right.
it picked. If it did
Sometimes
20
the
degrees different,
field
it
of
would give you a
view
different feel.
Might need to be corrected.
Because 4.0 shows that it's a perfect match.
Right, right.
I know it's gonna be, I know your clapboards are gonna be ruined when you take that siding off, because underneath that siding are laths. And they're laths, vertical laths, like every 6 inches, and they're nailed on, it's just.
Have you done some,
perforated.
have you done some
I've
exploration to
taken
see
it
what's
off.
underneath?
It's
Not
a
yet.
nightmare.
Not yet.
That's what you should run or sit there.
Perforated, I'm sure.
Yes.
I'll also look at the height of this dormer wall. I think, if I recall, I'm pretty sure we're not even at 8. We're below. I think we're down around 7 with the height of that wall, but I'll look and see if I can get it down anymore.
I wouldn't bother. It's not, I don't think that's really
Oh, Right.
Yeah, I don't think that's
She
what
was,
bothers
she
me
means
about it.
take it back from the facade.
Oh, move it back.
Yes,
Yes.
but,
So that makes it smaller,
but
the
then
windows
it,
won't be
but then the
symmetrical.
windows won't align, so.
I see, okay.
And the
It would
thing
be-
is-
it would- I mean, I know that these shed dormers are all over the south end. It would be nice to have one sample. You know, something, this is what it used to, before people put shed dormers in this. But, you know, it's New England and people make use of
I
their
know.
house.
I mean,
It's
most
part of
of
the
these-
history of what we do.
Most of these homes have about a 6-foot walking path down the center of that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know.
That's maybe if you're lucky.
And you can't get a staircase going up there because you don't have a dormer. The dormer you need for the staircase too, really.
And so
Unless it's
assume
epicenter.
that, speaking of walking space in I assume that the chimney is going to be removed?
Yes.
You have to decide whether it's
Yeah.
There's no fireplace inside this house.
No, this would have been a
Mechanical
stove.
Yeah, just
Great. Any other questions? Are you looking for any other direction from us? It seems like a very straightforward and clear
Well, it is a
project so
whole
far.
rehab, so
Yeah.
I wanted to come in and make sure that, we're on the right track and everybody there isn't something you all know about this house that I don't, that, I need to know. And just,
We're assuming the sashes are going to be 2/2s.
yes. I mean, unless I find something else
Indeed.
that's
Right.
relevant.
Well, so are these, did you say that these windows that on there that they're going to be restored?
Anything that is historic will be restored. If there's anything the original glass
Yeah.
in the building, I have not
You've got a
inventoried
mix,
them.
you've got a whole mix of windows here.
Yeah,
Some
they're-
2/2, some 6/6, some
Yes.
1/1.
I don't think the 6/6 are original. The 1/1, there's a couple of 2/2s if you look.
Yep, on the
There's
back.
one center front, there's one like back lower, and then there's this one on the side here potentially, but I'm not positive.
I would
Terry.
think that the 6/6s that are in the attic space would probably be original.
Yeah, the attic space is where they
think so?
usually are because nobody replaces
Right, because
those.
nobody replaces them, they just leave it up there.
Year, though?
That's where they are
The
usually.
thing that
They're
I would
usually
work on, the
crusted
same
with
kind of logic is,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's ever put 2/2s in after the fact. And so whenever you run into, for me, whenever I run into a house with 2/2s or 2/1s, it's always the original sashes because other people coming down the road had cuter ideas.
Really?
Yeah, but David, you're
feel like
you're missing colonial homes that have a 2/2 windows in them.
Do you mean of this
I see what
age,
you're
age of
saying.
the
Yeah.
I
house?
see what you're saying.
Because there are, I would
Yes,
say there
I-
are earlier houses that have 2/2s
Yes,
that
I
are.
guess I was speaking of this period, Lake Creek Revival.
I get you.
Yeah.
houses.
I get you.
Yes, sorry, I misspoke.
And I misspoke.
I
want to
I see, I
apologize.
see your point.
Storm door.
I see your point.
Going, staying.
Uh,
Got a nasty metal storm door here.
Going.
Going.
Right.
And the original door is. in-
Original side lights look, if those are original and they look like they might be, they'll be restored.
Okay. And the
And
door.
The door,
is a nice wooden or
Can't really see the door.
I'm not
Can't
sure
Okay.
at this
Okay.
point, but I'll be
Interesting. Well, let's find out.
checking it
Yeah,
out.
I'm looking at it.
I'll be,
And I would say that little light is probably not original. Maybe something that maybe is a little more in scale.
It's
or-
gas.
Wow.
This is funny because
It's gonna be
this,
fun, Carla.
this
Enjoy it.
looks exactly like the entryway on my house. It's Greek, my house is like 1850, 1860 Greek. And I got the side lights.
any thoughts on the corner boards?
No.
You haven't found any, have you
We
done?
haven't looked yet. We can
Yeah.
replicate what's under there if we, whatever, if something is.
I was
under
gonna
there.
say, have you looked to see if you can find any historic photos
Oh, well,
of the
that we can do.
Athenaeum?
Yes.
Well, just
I don't know.
take some of that glop off. You see?
It's pretty level. It doesn't look like there's.
It doesn't look like
No,
there's anything
Really
underneath.
level.
That's what I mean, that they strapped the whole house. We'd laugh. But the trouble with these, you would tend to think, oh boy, it's going to have big, wide Greek Revival corner boards with some evidence. But no, they made this little kind of a corner board thing that goes on and you butt the clapboards against it. It's a weird little thing.
There might be,
I don't
once you
think you can get
strip
it
all this stuff
anymore.
up, there might be a ghost of what it
She
used to
made
be on there, so.
I don't think there's any left under that. I think they put it right on.
That would be nice.
We'll start a pool. Find out.
Right on. See, the windows.
The windows are,
That's why they've got that
Oh,
extra
right,
molding around.
there's no,
There's certainly any number
Yes.
of New Englanders to go wandering around to find the right
I'll
corner
bet
board.
everything is underneath that siding.
okay.
It seems virtually untouched, other than the few pieces that people have patched over the years. It's remarkable stuff. We're gonna miss it.
Put roof shingles on for
Yes.
siding. And plus, they're less expensive.
That's true.
Why not side your house with roof shingles?
You know,
No,
fire
even
department
they
calls
are
it
failing
gasoline
that.
siding these days.
Just goes up.
All right. As opposed to the,
all right.
It's full of asbestos
no,
now.
it's the other,
Asphalt.
Yeah,
that stuff is bad.
asbestos. Cement
Asbestos.
asbestos,
Yes,
which is good siding.
Yeah.
right. That is not flammable. Okay. Anything else?
Paintable.
I think we're good.
All right, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we come back for public?
We can, if you don't need to come back for more work sessions, we can close the work session and you'll apply for a public hearing when you're ready.
We'll do that.
Okay,
Yes.
so
That's our
the motion to
plan.
close the work
So
session?
moved.
Second.
All right, in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Motion to adjourn?
Well, no, I have a couple things. No, you're welcome to go. Thank you. I know.
Let's go, let's go.
Did you have a question?
I had,
No question.
Isaac was going to give us an idea of who's going to check that house out as an engineer that has, yeah.
Yep, so Reagan will have a conversation before next week's meeting with Peter Britz and Shanti, and we can.
About Daniel Street.
Exactly.
Okay.
We can find out more about the third-party engineer, how that process is going to work, and then we'll present that to the applicant next week with all of those details, and we'll kind of go from there.
Not yet, not yet. There are a couple other things. Just very quick.
I'm very ill. I've got to get going.
I did send out, I had Isaac send out that email. If anyone is interested in looking at the state-run planning and zoning conference that's coming up next Saturday. Of course, it's Saturday, but it's on Zoom. And there is a whole track on historic district commissions. One of the things they're highlighting is new construction infill, which is something that we always struggle with. So I thought that would be very interesting to watch. I will be attending a Little League game, but I will have it in my ear because it's on Zoom, so I can listen to it at least
okay.
while he's trying
You want
to.
to tell me what they're saying?
But register anyway.
Yeah,
because
it's a-
when you register, then they'll send you a video link of the recording afterward. You can watch it on your own time.
And it's
If you
free
don't
registration.
If you don't register, you won't get it. So
Okay.
just register.
I do.
And then secondly, real fast, is just letting you all know that next Monday at the city council meeting is when I'll be bringing up our recommendations to the council for the solar panel review steps that we've put in place. The planning board reviewed it last week, and the only change or edit that they had was changing just the definition of the public way issue, and that's not even in what the review process is. It's just in sort of the definition. And I said, whatever is proper legally, whatever the legal department says is best there is fine, because the definitions are really just meant to assist whoever's in the planning department reviewing this and making sure that it all matches. So
So when you present it to the city council, what's the steps? Is that considered the first
the
reading?
first
then?
reading.
And then How many more readings? 8, 9? 3.
There's 3 total.
Total 3.
3.
So that's if the council accepts it, and but hopefully it'll be full.
Okay.
So, that's all.
Any of us there?
If you want to come, that's fine. You don't have to be there.
Just leave the burning torches at home and the pitchforks, okay?
All right. And we have a.
No, we're just gonna have
full
those
agenda
reads say
next
we
week.
support
We do.
Reagan.
Yes, and then next Wednesday, we have another full agenda for our meeting, so it's a heavy month. We might
Another
have-
packet will be sent out at the end of
Yes.
this week, so.
Great.
And it seems like, Isaac was saying, it seems like we'll be busy for the next few months, and things are picking up again, so. All right, now can I have a
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Yes. Okay.
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.